Information on how to watch, attend, and participate, as well as agendas, minutes, and recordings, can be found on Broomfield's website at broomfield.org/council meetings. Public comment is welcome in person or through our call-in service. Instructions for calling in are available on the council meetings webpage. Public comment will be limited to 90 minutes total per item. The first 1 through 15 participants in the queue have 3 minutes to speak. The next 16 through 25 have 2 minutes. And if time remains, the next 26 plus participants in the queue have 1 minute to speak. For our hard of hearing residents present, we have wireless headsets available in the back of the council chambers from our AV team. The City Council regular meeting is called to order. Councilmember Ward is attending remotely. There are 9 council members in attendance and a quorum of the council is present. We begin this meeting by acknowledging that we gather on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, Ute, and other Native peoples. Indigenous peoples have cared for this land for generations and continue to maintain deep cultural and spiritual ties to it. As the city and county of Broomfield, we recognize the responsibility to honor this legacy and the enduring presence of Native communities. May this acknowledgement inspire action that fosters greater understanding, truth, and respect for Indigenous peoples. Will everyone please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In an effort to keep order for tonight's meeting, I ask council members to limit their comments to 5 minutes. If council members are given an opportunity to speak for a second time, they should limit their communications to 2 minutes. We'll plan on a 10-minute break at approximately 8 p.m. We'll begin with council's review and approval of this evening's agenda. Council may add or remove items from the consent agenda, or council may revise the order of business for the meeting. Does any member of the council have any comments or questions regarding this evening's agenda? Mayor Pro Tem Lim.
I'd like to move item 6B to the action items.
Thank you. Item 6B will be reviewed as the first item under action items. Are there any objections to this agenda being approved as modified? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. There are no items under petitions and communications this evening. Does any member of the council have any reports or community updates tonight? No pressure. Councilmember Twist.
This past Thursday, thank you, I attended the Colorado Municipal League's legislative workshop, where the primary focus was navigating the significant state budget deficit and its downstream impacts on local governments. One panel on legislating in a year with no money featured our very own Jennifer Hoffman, who emphasized the need for intentional decision-making to protect core municipal services as our state and federal backfills disappear. There were many discussions about opposing unfunded mandates and land use preemptions. The overarching message of the day was partnership over preemption and urging the state to provide flexible frameworks that allow for local solutions rather than restrictive mandates. Thank you.
Very well, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Lim.
We'd like to thank everyone who attended and who planned and presented at the Wildfire Town Hall last night. We had a wonderful crowd who had good questions, and I think everyone walked away having learned a lot. So if you missed that and you're interested, it will be posted on our website, Wildfire and What It Means to You, if you'd like to watch the recording. Another upcoming event, Women's Safety Night, is March 2nd at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. It's an annual event now at the Broomfield Community Center. The Broomfield Police Department is once again hosting this event for Women's Safety Day. And it will be hosted in particular by the members of the Broomfield Police Department's Her Own Hero Women's Self-Defense Team. So all women and anyone else who's interested is invited to attend that event. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? None? We'll now continue with public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on matters on items that aren't on the agenda. So if you have something you want to be heard on, please come to the podium, state your name and neighborhood for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Adam Landrum. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm a Broomfield resident over the Greenway Park neighborhood, parent involved in local recreation. I'm here to speak about the future urban transit village site and the potential opportunity worth evaluating as part of the redevelopment. As city considers the next steps for the property, I'd like to ask whether Broomfield has evaluated a regional ice capacity or the regional ice capacity constraints and potential for sports anchored mixed use components at this location. Across the North Metro region, ice utilization appears to be at a structural saturation. For example, the Ice Center at the Promenade, Westminster, operates 3 NHL-sized sheets supporting approximately 150 adult league teams, scheduled games as late as 11:30 p.m., and still maintaining a wait list of over 40 additional teams. Youth participation nationally is at record highs, and surrounding communities are actively expanding ice inventory to meet demand. Unlike the former First Bank Center, which relied on episodic large events, a multi-sheet ice facility operates daily with practices, leagues, camps, high school athletics, and tournaments. That creates consistent year-round activity rather than occasional peak nights. This site offers unique advantages, transit-adjacent highway visibility, surrounding multifamily development, and proximity to schools. A community-focused ice center integrates into mixed-use development, could serve as an activation anchor while supporting hospitality and retail on a predictable basis. Greeley is currently advancing a model that integrates multi-sheet community ice, hotel, and retail components. While their project includes a professional arena, the underlying concept, daily use community sheets, driving mixed use vitality may be worth evaluating. I'm not suggesting replicating a large arena model. I'm suggesting that during this strategic reset, it may be prudent for the commission and regional recreation infrastructure feasibility study to be used to determine whether a sports anchored component strengthens long-term viability of the site. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, City Leadership. I believe this is open topic, things not on the agenda. I blew in from Ward 3. You might have recalled seeing me here a few weeks ago. First of all, thank you for your support in passing the ordinance that is no longer allowing parking to happen on the streets. I really appreciate that. It was in that same meeting, Mayor, that you talked about transparency as it related to home rule and some legislation that was being discussed. After I spoke, I went home and I watched the remainder of the proceedings, And I'm here today to discuss Green Pass, the amendment that was offered by Councilmember McKenzie. And I'm very appreciative of City and County Manager Hoffman making that a tabled discussion, because it sure seemed like that had the potential to be voted on. And that was not part of the public discourse. And I really think that Broomfield is potentially, the council in particular, moving in a direction that is not aligned with your constituents. I heard all the people that were here. I appreciate the heartfelt gesture that is intended. I don't believe that amendment as written, and potentially it's being adjusted behind the scenes, is something that is sustainable, nor something that is good for those who will be trying to secure a Green Pass, for the community members, staff, or all of you, because it creates a situation that myself and my neighbors have lived with, which is somehow and sometimes somebody shows up to park near your house And the city is going to allow that to happen with a permit. And the first thing that's going to happen is the police are going to be called or code enforcement's going to be called. And when somebody realizes, and there hasn't been a lot of discussion about this, by the way, and I think that's a giant miss. I think it feels like this is trying to be slipped through, not involving the community to create a sustainable solution. Because I can tell you, when this happens, the phones are going to light up. I think last week you talked about the deficit, the subsidies for services. This is going to create 5 calls for every 1 stop. And this is going to be random where these people show up. Like, I appreciate what you're trying to do. What I would say is take a pause, take a breath, involve the community and create a system whereby it is sustainable. How about this parking lot as an example? How about you provide power from streetlights? There's lots of things that could be done, but the way at which it was proposed is not something that feels transparent. It's not something I think the Broomfield residents support, and I'm encouraging you to think about that between now and when you see me again. Have a great evening, y'all.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard? All right, then. Next, under reports, staff is going to provide council with a semi-annual performance and internal audit update. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me, and good evening, council and community. Bernie Block, our internal auditor and performance improver, for lack of a better term, is joining us this evening. Mr. Block, please walk us through this item if you would.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members. Bernie Block, Director of Performance of Internal Audit, here to provide an update on the activities that I've been working on since we last met in August of 2025. In December, an organizational risk assessment was performed that looked at changes to the city and county operating environment, feedback from senior management, requests for assistance, and research of audit issues impacting local governments. From that, a listing of potential future projects was prepared and priority ranked. Those top projects were used to develop the 2026 proposed project plan, which was then discussed with the city manager's office and the city accounting attorney. Based on their feedback, the 2026 project plan was finalized, and that's attachment number 1 to your memo. Attachment number 2 to the memo is the status updates listing. This provides a summary of the audit findings, recommendations, and the status of previously issued audits with open and recently implemented items. Performance audits that have been completed or are currently in progress since the last council update include the payroll verification audit and the grants administration and compliance audit. I'll circle back to the grants audit here in a minute. There have been no special reviews. Process improvement projects include assisting with the grants policy update and working with the finance grants administrator to deliver grants, billing, and reconciliation workshops for the departments. Consultation is provided on a variety of topics, such as internal controls and external audit-related matters. I also continue to participate in professional development activities through the Innovation Ecosystem, which delivers process improvement and change management training to staff. Other activities include audit follow-ups, maintenance of the employee fraud hotline, strategic planning, ERP, and artificial intelligence related efforts. Mayor Pro Tem Lim reached out to me when the grants administration and compliance audit was issued and asked that I provide an overview to council, so I'll do that next. Historically, grants have been administered in a decentralized manner throughout the city and county. Each business unit developed its own method, which relied heavily on spreadsheets they developed rather than the financial system general ledger data. As the city and county continues to grow, however, senior leadership in the finance department recognize that oversight and standardization of grant administration practices is important to ensure best practices are followed and grant reporting and data is timely and accurate. As a result, performance audit of the grant lifecycle processes was performed. In November 2024, the Finance Department issued the first grants administration policy. This was an important first step for communicating expectations related to the standardized operating practices. Since the policy was issued, we've identified opportunities to clarify that guidance and streamline it. An updated grants policy has been prepared and is currently being reviewed by the finance director. Finance has taken a more active role in the grants administration process, which is a very positive development. I think initially there were some bumps in the roads and some miscommunication, but that appears to have improved since more defined responsibilities matrices have been implemented for staff. The use of a unique grant project code is a well-recognized best practice for grant administration. It allows for effective and efficient financial reconciliation and reporting practices. There are a couple exceptions where hybrid solutions may be necessary, such as Department of Human Services allocations and CDOT grant funding. Until recently, formal grant reporting has been limited. Finance has recently developed a couple of reports that assist with the departments monitoring their budget to actual and reconciliation processes. During first quarter of this year, I've been assisting the finance grants administrator with his departmental grant workshops to train those grant designees on the proper use of grant reports, general ledger data, and accounts receivables during the billing and reconciliation process. It's also allowing us to identify the situation where hybrid reconciliations may be necessary. These workshops are progressing well, although they will require follow-up to reinforce these concepts and to make sure everyone has a good understanding. Currently, grant budgets are loaded into the financial system once City Council approves the amended budget. This sometimes results in delays to loading that until the amendment comes up on the council agenda. As a result, the reporting out of the financial system doesn't provide an accurate picture of budget to actual activities, and departments continue to rely on their departmental spreadsheets. It's our hope that we can find a way to find a more timely way to load these budgets into the system so departments are using the financial system for their reporting and reconciliation practices. The finance department is currently working with the city and county attorney's office on this item. Finally, federal guidelines require that recipients of a federal award that subsequently passes funds to a subrecipient monitor the activities of those subrecipients to ensure compliance with federal guidelines. A standard operating procedure for identifying and monitoring these activities is currently needed. With that overview of my activities, I welcome any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Block. We'll now move to public comments on this item. If anyone would like to be heard, please make your way to the podium. Anyone online? All right, then we'll go to questions and comments from council. Who would like to go first? Going to be you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you for the answering my earlier question about the grant process and administration. Do we feel like this is in such a state of flux still that if there were opportunities where there was a particular grant identified, that it would not be pursued due to this administration process being in flux?
No, I don't think that would be a hindrance. You know, when COVID occurred, we had a high level of grants come through and we administered those just fine. So it's just refining and standardizing business practices just to make sure that the financial system has the accurate data we need for reporting purposes and so forth. So we've been doing it in a different manner for years. This is just maturing that process.
Okay. Part of maturing the financial process, I guess, can you give us a brief update on, we're all curious about how the ERP system is going?
I'm not sure if I'm the best one to answer that. There are a lot of people involved in it.
Thank you, Mr.
City
Block.
Mr. Hoffman.
Mayor Pro Tem, what a timely, oftentimes when we have these council meetings, we have just finished a conversation. So it's as if you all are, like Siri or something up in our offices hearing what we're discussing. It's going well. It's like any other project or initiative that, given that we haven't done it before, you remain positive and optimistic. And then when you get into it, you understand the lift. Councilmember Delgadillo and I have had this conversation before. So we are being not just mindful of the pace and the cadence, but also I think the real goal is that we don't want to lose anyone in this process. And when I say lose anyone, the pressure on staff to move from a manual environment to a automated environment requires living in both environments for a period of time in that overlap. So we are asking a lot of our folks. So we are on track with our schedule. We anticipate that will certainly continue. There's 150 individuals that are on our pit crews, is what we call them, subject matter experts that continue to have laser focus on their particular area. So we do anticipate by the end of the year, again, it's all about data hygiene, which is the soup du jour conversation, that you want to ensure that your data is clean before opening up a new program. Coincidentally, today was the first day that we have 3 individual groups that are beginning to play with the system before we kind of jump into that next sandbox. So progressing well, and we continue to be conscientious of the load on our folks, ensuring that not only do we do it well, but we're mindful of where they are as we do this. So appreciate the status question.
Good, thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, the first 2 months of the year have been a whirlwind.
Mhm.
And I'm sure my colleagues can attest to that. Anyone else have any questions or comments on the audit? Right, seeing none, thank you very much, Mr. Block, for the update. Next, under report, staff's going to provide the council with an update related to the comprehensive plan and transportation mobility plan public engagement overview. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Lynn Merwin is making her way down. So to the mayor's previous comment about how busy folks are. So we're in the middle of ERP and we're beginning to kick off the comprehensive plan. The strategic plan, council gets an update on next. Without further ado, Ms. Merwin.
Thank you, Manager Hoffman. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. Good evening to our audience. On behalf of our project management team for the Comprehensive Plan and Transportation Mobility Plan update, I'm pleased to present a quick overview of our public engagement strategy we've developed for the integrated update to the 2 plans. I will say that given our busy agenda tonight, I'm going to go really fast. And I will say to our community members and those who may be watching at home that you can always check out the presentation and the staff report that goes with it as a follow-up. So next slide, please. So the comprehensive plan is Broomfield's long-range guiding policy document. It's an overarching guiding document. It establishes the community's values and visions and serves as an official long-range roadmap for the future. We typically update the plan every 10 years, every decade or so, and the last plan was updated 10 years ago in 2016. We update the transportation mobility plan concurrently with the comprehensive plan because those 2 are so closely related. And also, as we've learned this year, there's a huge efficiency to doing both plans together. When we look at the number of meetings we have planned over the next 18 months, I can't imagine starting that all over again in 18 months and doing it for the transportation plan. So the plans are used, both plans are used by council and staff to help guide decisions regarding budgets, policies, programs, and services, legislative mandates, any new regulations that may be in order, as well as land development proposals. And our last bullet here is that residents may look to this plan for guidance regarding goals and commitments aimed at ensuring a sustainable future for Broomfield. So next slide, please. This is a very high-level timeline that shows that we are well into the pre-planning work in anticipation of a formal public launch of the comp plan and what we refer to as TMP, or Transportation Mobility Plan. There's updates expected to launch later this spring. The process will take approximately 18 months from when we do formally launch, and our goal is to bring this back in front of council, well, more than once, but for final adoption in the fall of 2027. Let's see. So next slide, please. So here we have some of the key goals for the plan, and I would say that the overarching goal here is for a robust process where we not only are able to inform the community about the plan, but to ensure an understanding and to gain feedback from the community. I am trying to go fast. So next slide, please. So our key planning partnerships, we anticipate a number of partnerships. The public will have an opportunity to engage multiple times over the next 18 months. But key here are the formation of 2 advisory committees, and one is called the Community Advisory Committee, and that's one where council, you all will be approving that group and forming that committee early next month in March. And then the formation of a technical advisory group, which would be comprised of department head staff and or their subject matter experts, those people who bring a really deep expertise to Broomfield, and all of the myriad of topics we will be covering in the plan, from land use to transportation, infrastructure, utilities, sustainability, and so on. We will also hold focus sessions with key stakeholders, including other agencies and adjacent jurisdictions, and with hard-to-reach populations. And then ultimately, or along the way, we will be consulting with our executive leadership team, Manager Hoffman and others. Next slide, please. Okay. So we have a variety of channels we expect to use to communicate with the community, including our Be in the Loop e-newsletters, tabling at large events, social media, signage, ads, articles in Our Broomfield magazine, targeted mailers, and more. The key platform is our Broomfield Voice platform, and we'll be sharing information there and seeking input, communicating both ways. Next slide, please. And some of the engagement events and tools, we expect to have approximately 5 city council study sessions, 6 community advisory committee meetings. Those will occur generally quarterly, and they are open to the public. They'll be advertised. 10 technical advisory committee. Again, those are with department head and other subject matter experts. 6 community-wide meetings, 20 focus group meetings, 8 major community events like Broomfield Days and Brouhaha, 10 smaller pop-up events, a number of consolidated meetings for our boards and commissions, and then hopefully 1 final public hearing. We will use both a statistically significant survey as well as a community-wide survey, and those will launch at the beginning of the overall public engagement launch later this spring. Next slide, please. So we're excited to announce our new brand tonight. We spent a lot of time in a couple of workshops with the staff from community development, communications, and our city manager's office, and we arrived at Broomfield Together, Many Voices, Our Story. We're very excited. The intent was to create a recognizable and visually engaging project brand that reflects Broomfield's identity. It's aimed at conveying a welcoming and inclusive tone. It's anchored in Broomfield's brand color palette. The Together term expresses a community-driven plan rooted in connection and shared purpose. It also aligns with the organizational strategic plan framework and the vision there. So we're excited to see that, and you've seen some of the images scattered through this presentation. And if you can advance to the next slide, we have a little bit more there. We have a few more of the images, and at the bottom, there's some just placeholder concepts at this point that will be fleshed out further as the plans develop. Next slide, please. So for next steps, council is in the process of interviewing for those at-large members who will be serving on the Community Advisory Committee. The formation of that committee and the appointment will be on March 3rd. And then moving into the second quarter of this year, we will have that formal public launch through the Broomfield Voice, social media, e-newsletters. We'll have those first meetings of our advisory committees. And then moving on later into the year, we'll continue with advisory meetings. We'll have focus group meetings, the large community-wide meetings, tabling, and we will be updating council from time to time at study sessions, as I mentioned. And then we will continue with this kind of cycle of meetings and updating council into 2027. And again, with bringing the formal plans back, ideally in the fall of 2027 for adoption. And that concludes my brief summary.
That was great. Thank you very much, Ms. Merwin. We'll go to public comments next. If you'd like to comment on this item, please come up to the podium. State your name and neighborhood. Or do we have, oh, Ms. Grant, are you next? Oh, okay. Just didn't want to leave you out. Anyone online? How about council? Do my colleagues have any questions or comments on this item? Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had one question. One, having worked in graphic design and logo development, congratulations on very good logo. Keeping it simple is the first challenge. I just had a question on outreach that I didn't see any reference to HOAs. They're half our community represented, half our residents are pretty much represented by HOAs, and feels like that's one area we need to increase our outreach because they all have communications and could really help us reach our residents. And second point is that Broomfield Voice is a fabulous platform, but anecdotally, I keep meeting more and more people who have no idea it exists. And if we could do something in this just to drive more people to that site and become used to checking that site on a regular basis, I think it would really help with our public engagement. That's all.
Was that that's it? Yep. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Brown. I was waiting for a question.
Thank you, Deputy Director Merwin. Great presentation, and I can already tell the just sheer amount of work that's gone into this effort so far. I just had kind of one broad question I'm hoping you can speak to for those of us who maybe weren't as engaged in this process for the 2016 comprehensive plan. Could you briefly speak to how you've incorporated lessons learned from that process into, I'm thinking specifically the outreach and marketing efforts, and how it really seems like you're trying to build something big here?
I'm excited to.
Yes, sure. I was here back then, but no one from our team or really anywhere in the organization was involved in that plan update at the time. But we did do a phase 1 to this update where we hired a consultant to scope innovations best practices in long range planning, because it had been 10 years and we don't do this every day. And a lot has changed with social media and public engagement in 10 years. And so, yeah, we pretty much learned everything through that process. And there is a link, I believe, in the memo to the lessons learned, but meeting people where they are, doing that extra effort to get out and reach hard to reach populations. I heard council members comment about the Broomfield Voice, and we'll continue to work with communications on how best to do that. Another key takeaway was to have a technical advisory group, because at the end of the day, while it's very much a a community vision for the future, it has to be grounded, it has to be actionable, it has to be a legally sustainable document, and there are legislative requirements that we do need to follow as part of it, and so that technical group will help us with that. So that's a little bit of a snapshot of what we learned.
Great, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Henkel.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. I love the colors, first of all. I think they're so much fun. And I love the way that we're talking about the comprehensive plan and also the mobility piece of it. Can we speak a little bit more about how we're going to integrate that eventually? Because eventually we're going to have to figure out in the comp plan how we're going to actually have to do that together. And then I'll have another question in here in a second, but.
I can speak to it at a high level. We did not invite our consultant here this evening because it was going to be a very short meeting and we wanted to be judicious with our resources. But the consultant has laid out a 5-step process, and I'm not sure I'm going to remember all the phases, but the first 2 phases we do concurrently with both plans. So that's a lot of discovering and outreach to kind of gain feedback on visions and have those early discussions on both plans. And then the plans will diverge. And that's where we'll get into kind of the nitty gritty of, those hard conversations about priorities and trade-offs and that kind of thing. And they'll be geared to each plan a little bit more because those conversations are, uniquely need to be uniquely aligned either with the comp plan or the transportation plan. And then toward the end of the plan, the planning for the 2 of them come back together in terms of process and drafting the plans, putting them out there in the public realm for comment for a period of time, taking those comments and doing another run through of integrating them or not and why we can't integrate them, and then bringing them together for approval at the end. So we have a nice visual on it, but we just didn't have time to display it tonight, but it will be in our communications as we push forward. It's a great graphic. So
Thank you very much. Sure. One other question too is, how are we going to reach people? I think I remember reading this last week. My notes aren't in front of me right now, but I believe that we were talking, or in the memo, it talked about mailers, but then it said online and then it said mailers. So I'm curious if we're actually going to mail something, which I would love. I always love mailers when we send them out, and like, that's how we get a lot of really good feedback because we're meeting people where they're at. And then where are we meeting people where they're at? Maybe even at their doors, or, we learn a lot when we go canvas. So where are we meeting people where we're at? Because I noticed that there's a lot of meetings like come to us, and I would like to know when we're actually meeting them at their home.
Sure. So we won't be going to people's homes, but we will be having focus sessions, and we will try to have some of those smaller group focus sessions. We can try and have where they are located, like if we're partnering with faith-based organizations or nonprofits, we can try to partner with them to actually meet there if they have the space. They may not all have the space, and we may not be able to do that, but that would be our goal. The other way we get out and meet people is through the smaller pop-up events. So oftentimes that might be weekend work where we're stationed outside of a community center, like the Paul Durda Rec Center or the senior center, or other events around town. So we won't be going door to door. We don't have a budget for that. We don't have a capacity to do that, but we will try to get out into the community and be there at different times of the day and different days of the week as best we can.
Okay, so what do we mean by mailers then? Is that
Oh,
like
yeah,
a
sure.
online email or?
Yeah, so we are hoping to do a full-blown mailer to everyone at the beginning of the project. We are still pricing that out. At a minimum, we could stick it in a water bill, but we would really like it to stand alone. And we do have a reasonable budget for something like that. We just want to make sure it doesn't tip the scale for other things. But our goal would be to let everybody know this is coming, send a postcard to their home, and that there's a survey coming. There will be a statistically significant survey that will be sent to approximately 3,000 people. And then there will also be a very similar, if not identical, survey that's available online or paper paper copies would also be made available. And so I hope that
Yeah,
kind of
that
answers your
answers
question. I don't want to
question a
get
bit
too
more.
deep.
Yeah, and I don't want to ask too many questions tonight because I know we're just diving into it and it's a long night. So
Sure.
thank you. And I also just want to put out there that through the scope of doing all of this, Adams 12 has done a lot of this work as well. We did a lot of stakeholdering work, and we just asked people too, what do you like best about Adams 12 schools? And that actually brought out the best in our schools that people were already feeling ownership over. And I feel like that could be a part of this plan too. There's a lot of people really proud to live in Broomfield, and
Sure.
they'll tell you why.
Yeah.
And if we can expand upon that, I think that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, right. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Lim.
With the technical advisory group, if there are ideas that come forward in the preliminary stages that are somewhat out of the box, perhaps, that our own technical staff does not have expertise in, I don't recall if we had heard if the budget allows for bringing in outside experts. Will that be something that our own staff just researches and brings in, or how will that work?
I think it will depend on the nature of the ideas or questions. I mean, I would rely on Olson, our long-range financial, our long-range planning consultant, who is helping to lead this project to guide us on that a bit. They may have experts on staff, especially if they're in the transportation realm, but other experts, they've got a full panel of sub-consultants lined up to assist us. So if they can't, then, we could look at, if the budget allowed for some further expertise to be brought in, but it'll just depend.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from my colleagues? My only observation, because I did read the 2016 comp plan when I first was elected in 2017, and it was kind of vaguely more visionary, right? It didn't have any concrete goals. It just said, we need to do more of this. Like, we need to do more affordable housing. We need to have some sustainability. But there was actually nothing in a plan for more sustainable practices, or I think the only thing in housing was to preserve existing affordable housing stock in 2016. So will this plan have more of a metrics and goals to meet?
So I'm not sure about metrics, but we do expect to have more strategies. And so there were a number of action steps in the prior plan, and that did end up being kind of a lesson learned that isn't the best way to present it. In hindsight, I mean, we all learn from these plans every decade, right? Like, it's not just Broomfield, but I'm sure across the country and across Colorado. But action steps can become stale quickly. They may never be funded. There's any number of challenges that come up with action steps, whereas if we frame it in the context of a strategy, it gives staff, council, the executive leadership, greater flexibility in how to run with that. So.
Great.
Mayor, if I may,
Manager Hoffman.
by design, so strategically, the comp plan is the community's plan. The strategic plan is our internal operation plan. And then the long-range financial plan is how we're going to make all of this work. So it's not about individual plans, it's how they are interconnected and interrelate, and how the alignment with the budget, we spend money on what we think is important. And so we have to be able to have a consistent, a repeatable approach that is well circulated and well documented. And to Ms. Merwin's point about the composition and compilation of the 2016 plan, I think the significant difference is how we operate internally, that all folks are at the table to varying degrees. And it takes longer to do projects that way. It's not an easy turnaround time, but it does make it sustainable, thoughtful, and intentional. So, and you'll find that with that alignment when Ms. Brouillard comes and presents the internal strategic plan next.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ms. Merwin.
Thank you
And
very
Ms.
much.
Grant.
Okay.
All right, we'll now continue with the reports section of the agenda. City Manager Hoffman, do you have any reports tonight?
I was going to, but I'm going to keep everybody waiting because it's such a long meeting tonight. No, I do not have any reports.
Okay, hold that. Attorney Rogers?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Council's consideration of the consent items is next. Earlier this evening, Mayor Pro Tem Lim requested that item 6B be moved to action items. Therefore, it won't be reviewed at this time. The clerk will read all of the consent items by title, and there'll be one opportunity for public comments and council questions and comments. Will the clerk please read agenda item 6A and item 6C through 6G by title?
6A, approval of minutes for the regular council meetings of February 10th, 2026. 6C, proposed resolution number 2026-16, authorizing assignment of the City and County of Broomfield's private activity bond allocation for 2026 to the Broomfield Housing Authority. 6D, proposed resolution number 2026-25, approving the design build agreement between the City and County of Broomfield and Playcore Wisconsin, Inc., doing business as Game Time for the 2026 Playground Replacement Project. Proposed resolution number 2026-26, approving the design build agreement between the City and County of Broomfield and Playwell Group, Inc. for the 2026 Playground Replacement Project. 6E, proposed ordinance number 2298, amending Chapter 2-52, Public Library regarding the assessing and collecting of fines and fees for lost and damaged library materials. 6F, request for executive session regarding Broomfield Town Square. 6G, proposed resolution number 2026-21, resolution approving an amendment to council procedures and rules of order regarding legislation positions and budget summary sessions.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with public comments. If any residents are using the call-in service, you could indicate your desire to speak by pressing *9 to raise your hand. We'll start with in-person comments on the consent agenda. If anyone would like to be heard on these items, please make your way to the podium. Anyone online? All right, then. Does any member of council have comments on these agenda items? None? Before asking for a motion, I want to remind everyone that item 6F is a request for an executive session, which requires a 2/3 approval of council. Is there a motion by council that consent items 6A and items 6C through 6G be approved? Councilmember Henkel?
So moved.
Is there a second? Councilmember Twist?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none? Council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously 9-0. Next up, earlier this evening, it was requested that item 6B be moved to action items. As mentioned, we'll review this item now before continuing to the agenda. Item 6B is council's consideration of a resolution approving authorization for spending under master service agreements for road maintenance services. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to begin the discussion. Is there anything to add on this from staff level?
No, I think this is a pretty quick one, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem. I'm just looking quizzically because I don't know if it's Graham Clark. Oh, it's Ms. Stisbis. Would you please approach the podium? Thanks very much and walk us through this item.
Yeah, no problem. This particular item is our master services agreement. We intend from the finance perspective to include everything over 200,000. And I think that this is just more of a cleanup item in terms of the verbiage associated with that resolution. So that's all we have.
All right. Well, then we'll go to public comments on this item, if anyone would like to be heard. Anyone online? Any questions from council? I think everybody's on board. All right. Well, first is council's consideration of proposed resolution number 2026-29. Is this right? Do we have to talk about the amendment? Oh, that comes after. Oh, that's right. I got ahead of myself. Okay, first is council's consideration of proposed resolution number 2026-29. Will the clerk please read the proposed resolution by title?
6B, Resolution Number 2026-29, approving authorization for spending under master services agreements for road maintenance services with A1 Chip Seal, Amrise West Central, Brannon Sand and Gravel, Colorado Asphalt Services, Inc., Denver Custom Concrete, KRM Concrete, Tall Contracting, and Top Notch.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? We need to approve it before we can amend it. Thank you, Councilmember Delgadillo.
Of course, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Henkel. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem Lim.
Thank you. As Mr. Clark referred, this amendment is just to clean up the reporting requirement. So we started the master services agreement process last year, and at that time, we specified that there should be a report on a quarterly basis with those items when those expenditures occur. So this is just an amendment. I'm offering an amendment that states on a quarterly basis at a regular council meeting, council shall receive a special report from the finance department regarding the annual expenditures to date for all vendors with master services agreements, including the above referenced MSAs.
Thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Lim has made a motion for an amendment. Is there a second? Councilmember McKenzie. Second.
Second.
Thank you. And as a reminder, our new council rules limit discussion on the amendment to 3 minutes for the sponsor, then 1 minute for the speaker if needed. Mayor Pro Tem Lim, would you like to give any other presentation on your amendment? Stand
No.
for itself. Okay. Any other discussion on the amendment? All right, then council, please cast your vote. You have to clear Mayor Pro Tem Lim. Council can vote in a second. Nope, 1 second. Okay, council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote. And the amendment passes unanimously 9-0. We'll now return to the discussion on the resolution. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll move forward to the vote on resolution number 2026-29 as amended. Council, please cast your mic. Oh, we have a little tech issue. Okay. Do you need to reset? Okay. 1 moment, please. Just zooming along. It looks good on my screen. Oh, no.
Bear with me 1 moment.
Okay.
I need to take a break.
You know, before we had this system, I'm just killing time. We press buttons now, but before actually, up until 2 years ago, I would hand tally votes, like little hash marks. And it wasn't, the public didn't know. And so I really like this system a lot better, but it does get glitchy sometimes. But at least it's recorded, it's easier for people to see, and it's not on me to count votes with hash marks. A little old school, but we can do it if we have to. Henkel.
Councilmember Hinkle.
Mhm. And we got the amendment passed. We voted on the amendment. So now we're on to the vote for the resolution as amended. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Memory.
And we're ready now.
All right, so we're going to cast our vote on resolution number 2026-29 as amended. Council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have voted and the results will be displayed on the screen, and that amended resolution passes 9-0. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tasha. All right, the first item under action items this evening is the appointment of a council member for the current Ward 1 vacancy. Kenny Nguyen resigned from his role as Ward 1 council member on January 14th to join the state legislature, creating a vacancy in that position. The charter provides that within 60 days after a council member vacancy occurs, the remaining council members shall choose by majority vote a duly qualified person to fill such vacancy. The individual selected shall serve until the next eligible general or coordinated election, at which election a successor will be elected to serve out any unexpired portion of the original term remaining. For this specific appointment, the appointee will serve through this November 2026. As part of the November 2026 election, a successor will be elected to serve out the unexpired portion of the term, basically another year, which expires in November 2027. There are 8 applications from duly qualified individuals: Jennifer Freeman, Katie Harness-Hemmer, Joel Niles, Katie Peterson, Matthew Shepard, Katie Swoboda, Samantha Tolotzen, and Samara Ziadi. I would like to thank all the board residents who took time to apply for this city council vacancy. And as a reminder, if you don't get appointed tonight, there will be another opportunity to run for the seat this November. In accordance with the procedures set forth in section 6.1 of council's procedures and rules of order, the process tonight will be as follows. The nominees will be identified. If there's only one nominee, council will proceed directly with a motion to appoint. If there's more than one nominee, council will proceed to vote by ballot for the individual they want elected as council member for the Ward 1 vacancy until one candidate receives a majority vote for council. Following the vote on the nominees, a motion to appoint the candidate by name will be necessary, followed by a formal vote. Before we proceed with the nominations, will council please get out their devices, which I see you have, and open up the voting portal. It should be an email at the top of your inbox from Kelly Cole at 6 p.m. And now we'll proceed with, does everybody have the portal handy? You're having an issue with the portal?
It's not open yet.
Oh, yeah, it's not open yet. Thank you. I'm not open on it, so let me know if it's not working and we'll get you some help. Before we proceed with I did that. We'll now proceed with nominations. A council member may nominate more than one individual, and as a reminder, nominations do not require a second. Are there any nominations? Mayor Pro Tem Lim.
I would like to nominate all 8 candidates that you previously mentioned.
Thank you. So since everybody's nominated, we'll now proceed with public comments. If any residents are using the call-in service, they should indicate their desire to speak by pressing *9 to raise their hand. We'll start with in-person comments.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Martin Dormish. I'm a local minister and resident of Ward 1's Birch neighborhood. I've been encouraged by the collegiality of the vacancy process to this point and by the portions of the recent Q&A that I was able to listen to. And I'd like to thank each and every one of the residents who have put themselves out there to fill Kenny Nguyen's seat. I have the privilege of knowing 2 of the vacancy candidates personally, Samara Ziadi and Katie Peterson. Samara, for her part, is an amazing leader who has been a key participant in our recently recognized Broomfield Sister Cities Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribes Partnership. And I've known Katie and the 3 other members of her immediate family for more than 15 years. It was Katie who asked me to be here this evening to say a few words on her behalf, and I'm happy to do so. She is a good friend and a thoughtful person who would bring both an inquisitive and incisive mind and a kind and compassionate heart to the Broomfield City Council. Over the years, I've had the privilege of working alongside Katie on a number of local housing and basic needs advocacy efforts. Through her volunteer work with the Refuge, with Together Colorado, and the Broomfield Housing Solutions Forum, and most recently with the Broomfield Housing Stability Task Force, which I helped lead. Katie has always sought to understand all sides of the issues at hand. She is not afraid to take on difficult and complex issues and to work toward viable solutions. She is both a great team player and someone who straightforwardly speaks her mind when the situation calls for it. And in addition to being a dogged investigator, she has always been a willing participant who offers her presence where it is most needed. Perhaps most importantly, she is someone who truly listens and is one of the few people I would trust to take on the responsibilities of this special role in the midst of the difficult and uncertain societal moment in which we are all living at the local level and beyond. So for all those reasons and more, I'd like to encourage the City Council to vote for Katie Peterson into the vacant Ward 1 seat under consideration this evening. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Bill Heck, and I work with Martin, in fact, on Broomfield Housing Solutions. And I've had the opportunity to work with Katie Peterson a couple of times, a number of times actually. I am a certified board director, and I teach boardmanship in terms of public and private companies, and I've been on private company boards. So I have some opinions, not facts, but opinions, in terms of what it takes to be a successful council or board member. And Katie, by the way, has those characteristics. She is data-driven. She uses data in her conversations, in her arguments, and in her successes. She's a person who is very facilitative. She facilitates around the table whether or not she's leading the meeting or not. And she is very personable in the sense that you have to know Katie, regardless of whether you want to. She is a person who is understanding the facts and being able to use the facts in her conversations. But the most important characteristic of Katie, in terms of being a successful council member, is she knows the right question to ask at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor Kylene. My name is Rian Ziadi, and I am Samara's father. And I just wanted to get up and speak and just let you know that we are lifelong, or she is a lifelong Broomfield resident, and we've been here for almost 30 years. And we've seen Samara come up from, you know, a little kid to who she is today. And she is an amazing person, and she really loves this town and this community. And she's participated in it, starting on Broomfield Teen Council, and continues to participate, as previously said, with Sister Cities and other civic organizations. And this town is in her heart, and she loves it. And I think I'm biased, but she would be an outstanding addition to the City Council and bring a youthful perspective to this town. And I think it's amazing. So anyways, we really appreciate being part of this community, and thank you for considering her.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard? All right, well, now we will proceed with council's vote to elect a council member for Ward 1. Council will vote on their electronic devices. The voting results showing who voted for each applicant will be shared on the screen following each round of voting. There will not be a secret ballot. The applicant selected must receive a simple majority of the vote. With 9 council members, that would be 5. If needed, the voting process will repeat, removing the applicant with the lowest total until one applicant receives a simple majority of the vote. I do have a question. Is Councilmember Ward's remote access going to be able? Okay, good. I didn't even think about that till just now. Excellent. Then, so that's how it's going to go. So, the voting's open. Okay. And so, council, please cast your vote. Do you need tech support? Okay. And this is the first time we've done a council vote with the new software, so I'm curious to see how this looks. First time for everything.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. So we have run the first election. We did not break a majority. So pursuant to council rules, we will need to remove the lowest vote getters, which I believe would be votes. As you can see, Ms. Tillotson got 1 vote. Who also got 1 vote? Mr. Niles got 1 vote. Pursuant to your rules, we are going to allow them to stay on this next ballot. We are going to just remove the the candidates that got 0 votes, and we will prepare that next ballot for you momentarily.
Is there any other way to display it other than a pie chart with percentages? Because you can only see the number of votes if you hover over it, and we don't have access to that. The pie chart's new.
Yes, you can show it that way. Yep. Council, we are now displaying the vote results by candidate.
Okay, but you can't do a different vote tally display than the pie chart? Oh, okay. We're doing it as we go. Okay, so we're gonna do another round of voting and you're going to remove,
Just following very strictly the way that Council Rule 6.1 is written, we are just going to remove the candidates that received 0 votes
okay.
and rerun that ballot.
That wasn't really transparent on the screen. So nobody really knows. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Okay. No, because the pie chart wasn't good results. The pie chart doesn't show the remaining candidates. The pie had percentages.
All right, so Council, we are preparing another ballot for you with 4 candidates. They're going to be Jennifer Freeman, Joel Niles, Katie Peterson, and Samantha Tillotson.
All right, is the voting open? Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, we'll wait.
Okay, that ballot is open. You may need to refresh your screen to see the second ballot.
So,
Your Honor, Mayor, with 5 votes, we do have Katie Peterson, who has succeeded through this election.
all right, well, congratulations. Now we have to formally appoint. So is there a motion to appoint Katie Peterson as council member for Ward 1 and to allow swearing in to happen on March 3rd, 2026? Councilmember Twist.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Delgadillo.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, so seeing no further discussion, we'll move forward to the vote. Council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Wards, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote. The results will be displayed on the screen. Congratulations. Please join us for the swearing in of our newest council member at the city council meeting on March 3rd. Thank you all so much for running. It was a really competitive field, and I appreciate all of you for stepping up to serve. You'll have another opportunity in November. All right.
Mayor, before we move on,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson, if you would like to step out in the lobby, one of our staff members, with regards to your email, your equipment, and Ms. Beauregard is waiting for you right there. We can also talk about the orientation. So you get no moment.
No.
You don't even get to enjoy the moment. But you can as soon as you meet with staff out there. That way, you're able to get the information and data that you need in order for the vote for the boards and commissions.
I know it's going to be a swift onboarding.
Yes, it is.
That. All right. Well, thank you all again. So next under action items this evening is council's approval of the strategic outcome areas of Broomfield's organizational strategic framework. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Oh, geez, we just sent the person doing.
Oh,
Will you grab her, please? Thanks very much.
would you want, we can't skip it, can we? Can we go out of order?
We could, there she is right there. We have some of our champions here tonight, so it's best not to go out of order.
Okay.
Thanks very much. Ms. Brouillard.
Thank you, Manager Hoffman. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Danae Brouillard, Director of Strategic Initiatives and Governmental Affairs. Before I begin this evening's presentation, I wanted to just take a moment and thank Mayor and council for your time this evening to honor the work that we've done together for the past several years to get to this point. Tonight is a big milestone, and we are very excited to be here and to share this update with you all. Plus, it's not often that you get to wear tie-dye to a council meeting. Next slide. All right, the purpose of tonight's presentation is to share and celebrate Broomfield's organizational strategic plan framework with council and the community. An organizational strategic plan, or OSP, as you will hear many times tonight, is an operational roadmap that supports alignment between policy, council, and operations staff. This is Broomfield's first strategic plan, and it will provide a framework for the near term. It is important to note that a strategic plan is not a strategic plan is an operational plan, and it is not a comprehensive plan. As Planning Director Lynn Merwin presented earlier tonight, the comprehensive plan is broader, community-based, and the upcoming major refresh will include robust council and community engagement. Next slide. Most strategies include 4 key components, as you can see on the screen. Tonight, we will share Broomfield's framework and specifically seek council's approval of the strategic outcome areas or the policy components of the plan. Next slide. This is a graphic that we have shared over the past 1.5 years, and as you can see, together we are climbing the mountain, and we are getting closer to the sun. Tonight is a big milestone for all of us, as your approval of the outcome areas gets us closer to the implementation. Next slide. So before I pass the presentation over to the OSP champions who are joining us this evening, we wanted to take a moment and recognize the work of the OSP Steering Committee. I remember when we had our first meeting, we tried to have clear roles and expectations for the members, what the time commitment was going to be. But with it being our first organizational strategic plan and there being many variables, I'm not sure any of them knew what they signed up for. But they stayed with us, they gave time, energy, and grace, and they helped steer the ship forward. So if there's any members from the steering committee, as you can see on the board, if you'll just stand up for a moment. Yeah, thank you so much for all of your work. And now I'm going to pass it over to the real stars of tonight's presentation, which is some of our OSP champions.
Better than I could have expected.
Good evening, Council. John Whiting. I'm on the Strategic Initiatives team. I help with the strategic planning and government affairs efforts, and this allows me to work with all the amazing departments across this organization.
Good evening, I'm Bob Woods. I contribute to Broomfield through collaboration. As the Open Space and Trails Manager, my team and I work with many city departments, other departments in the city, as well as local nonprofit organizations, resident volunteers, and of course, our neighboring communities. And we provide mobility and environmental stewardship.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. My name is Sharon Tessier, and I'm the Housing Policy Manager, and I work with an incredible group of people. One of them back here, Lisa Soccer. Hey, Lisa. We help keep people housed as well as assist partners bringing in income-aligned housing for both for sale and for rent. We work collaboratively with our internal partners at the city and county, as well as community partners. It takes many hands to achieve the One Broomfield feel, and I couldn't be more proud and excited to be in front of you today.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Romi Bhattacharjee, and I'm the Grants Administrator. I'm incredibly excited to be part of this community and to be helping in the part of the OSP strategic plan. And I look forward to working more with this community and putting together the strategic framework. Thank you.
My name is Sue Spriggs, and I've been at the front desk at the Broomfield Workforce Center in the Human Services Building for the last 7 years. If you're not familiar with what we do at the Workforce Center, we help individuals find new opportunities in employment. While I don't do the heavy lifting that the workforce specialists do, I think I have the best job because I meet the customers when they first come in. Many times they are scared, sad, and unsure of their future. I'm always willing, dang it, I didn't want to cry. Oh. I'm always willing to offer encouragement, hold a hand, and most of all, just listen. Then after they've worked with our specialist, I get to see the end result, excitement, hope, and new opportunities. And then I get to celebrate with them, give out hugs, and grab a photo for our success wall. So yes, I have the best job at CCOB. So we're the OSP champions. And what does that mean? There's about 40 of us throughout the organization, and we had 3 really important jobs. One of them was to receive input from staff at all levels and to make sure that our employees felt that they could provide input on the beginnings of the organizational plan. The second thing was to make sure that all of our employees had status updates along the way and that they knew what was going on with the plan. And the third thing was to lead staff outreach activities, which you can see here on this slide. And you're going to hear more about that as we go along. There's also a few other champions in the audience. So if they could take a stand up for just a second so we could recognize them too. Next slide, please.
Next slide, please. So this is a plan for everyone. The OSP isn't just a document, it's our operational roadmap. We wanted every employee from the front desk to the field to see their own fingerprints on this final plan. So we're meeting, there was a lot of work that went into meeting our team where they work. So beyond the 8 to 5, we hit the road to visit every building across all shifts, ensuring accessibility, and no one was left out due to their schedule. Multi-channel feedback, whether you preferred a quick online survey or a deep dive focus group, we provided a seat at the table, offering multiple mediums to engage in-person and online options, surveys and activities. On showing up, we felt it was important to show up at regularly scheduled meetings as to ensure efficiency and maximizing time by joining existing department meetings, manager summits, and ERC sessions. The impact by numbers, over 600 voices, unique employees contributed their perspectives. 275 tie-dye shirts were created and were a massive hit, proving that strategic planning is better with ice cream. And all of the employees, I have to say, put the fun in making this functional and fundamental to our growth and evolution. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Sharon. Moving on to the OSP Engagement Council, the OSP promotes alignment with Council on the policy component, which is the item Council is approving this evening, the strategic outcome areas. To ensure this portion of the OSP was representative of the Council's policy direction, there were several opportunities for staff and RefTel as the third-party consultant helping with this work to capture the Council's feedback and direction. This engagement with Council kicked off way back in October of 2024 with one-to-one interviews and was followed up by 2 City Council workshops. Finally, staff shared the outcome of all this work over the past 1.5 years at their February 2026 focus session, where Council reaffirmed their support. We are very, very grateful for this continued dialogue, and we look forward to Council's formal approval of the strategic outcome areas. Thank you.
As you can see, this effort truly was all hands in. It was very important to us to honor and celebrate how every individual contributes to the success of the organization. How we show up, how we treat each other, our customers, and our work matters, and ultimately provides service excellence to the community. To capture this, employees had the opportunity to decorate an individual paper hand that represented their true, authentic self. The ask was intentionally broad and undefined. We wanted employees to contribute however they felt best represented them. We received over 300 hands, and in partnership with our wonderful communications team, we created a powerful piece of artwork, as you can see on the screen. It's currently hanging upstairs outside the city manager's office, but it's not going to stay there. It's going to travel around to different city buildings to remind staff of all the work we've done together and all the work we continue to do. Everyone's contributions matter. Next slide, please. So now we're going to circle back to the framework that we shared at the beginning of the presentation. If you remember the four components of the framework noted here on the screen. And now we're going to share with you Broomfield's framework, which has been built on all of the feedback, energy, and love for Broomfield that we just shared with you. Next slide, please. Our vision, a Broomfield, courageously delivering results together. Next slide, please.
Yeah. While this slide is really representative of the employees, we still wanted to share it with council and the community tonight so that when you think about the staff at CCOB and who we're serving in the community, that you'll remember the values that the employees have identified as what's most important to us and how we're showing up to serve our community. The mission statement, I'm going to give it a dramatic reading, so get ready. As dedicated stewards of Broomfield, our community-focused team delivers meaningful and impactful services and support.
Thank you.
Yes.
And our values are, previous slide, please. And our values are integrity, committing to doing what is right, especially when it's challenging, stewardship, fostering innovative and responsible management of resources, collaboration, engaging in inclusive partnership, teamwork, and cooperation with each other in the community, caring, nurturing an environment where compassion and empathy extend beyond words to support the well-being of our employees and community. Last but not the least, customer service, creating a quality customer experience through respectful, reliable, and accessible service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please. So coming up on the big finish regarding this presentation, think of these strategic outcomes as our really big buckets. These are the high stake areas where we absolutely must excel for Broomfield to achieve its vision. As championed by City Council, these are the first 3 of our 6 guiding stars. Financial sustainability, managing financial health effectively by anticipating and adapting to social, environmental, and economic changes to ensure that current and future financial and infrastructure needs are cultivated. In other words, we are the financial ninjas, right? Mobility, developing equitable and inclusive physical and digital mobility options that allow people to move, access service, and connect safely. And environmental stewardship, supporting a healthy and sustainable future by prioritizing the care for and responsible management of resources in the natural and built environments of Broomfield.
And the final 3 are economic and community vitality, fostering a vibrant, accessible, and inclusive Broomfield by promoting strategic economic prosperity, income-aligned housing, and a cultural landscape where residents and businesses thrive together, safe, supportive, and inclusive community, fostering community well-being by creating a welcoming environment where safety is prioritized, everyone feels safe, and all have equitable access to resources and services. And finally, number 6, organizational and operational excellence. prioritizing employee well-being, development, and collaboration to cultivate a supportive workplace rooted in transparency, innovation, and a shared commitment to service excellence for the betterment of the Broomfield community. And I would like to note, council, that while these are numerically ordered, that's not any sort of prioritization. That's just how we put it in the presentation. So, next slide, please.
Thank you.
So this evening, we are seeking your formal approval of the strategic outcome areas of the OSP as previously affirmed and reaffirmed by council. Next slide.
Before we conclude the staff presentation, we have a couple items that we wanted to hand out to you all. The t-shirts were really special to us to remind us of the work and all the hands that it takes to do this work. And so we have the champions will bring up to the dais quickly if you want to deliver those. An item that we hope will connect you to this project and the work that we did together. It's a notepad that says Broomfield Courageously Delivering Results Together with the image on the back and a little surprise in there when you open it. So thank you for the partnership.
I love you so much. Thank you, Shannon. You guys have certainly raised the bar on presentations. It's going to be hard for anybody that follows in your footsteps because you brought gifts. Is that all right?
Mayor, that concludes our staff presentation.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Brouillard. And thank you all so much. That was just full of joy and we can't have enough of that right now. So thank you for bringing the joy. We do have an opportunity for public comments on this item. So if you'd like to be heard, please make your way to the podium, state your name and neighborhood for the record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. It is the first, so I think we need to give it a lot of fanfare. It's our very first strategic plan.
Roxy Jula Lockmore. It was a great experience going to all the meetings and seeing how things were coming out. There was lots of questions, a lot of discussion. If you didn't go, you missed a lot. It was lots of fun. I only wish I could have been around when they did the meetings and stuff with the employees, because I see a lot of the employees a lot face to face when I'm out and about. I'd like to have seen them in a good mood at the same time too, besides the very few that we have here tonight, because there's a lot of people. The only other thing, which is on the other side of this, is this happened on February 7th, 2026 is when that council meeting was, the last one. So I'm always reading through all the information stuff, so your records are wrong. So if you want to highlight something, at least fix the record. So it was on 2026, February 7th. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Do you know what that is? Manager Hoffman, do you know what was?
I have no idea, but we're going to find out.
Find out from Ms. Jewell so we can fix that.
You
Thank
bet.
you for bringing it to our attention. Would anyone else like to be heard? All right, next is questions from council. Members should limit themselves to questions right now. So do my colleagues have any questions for the champions? Wow. Well, we've been brought along on the process, so I think we're all in sync here. We're moving in the same direction. So next, seeing no questions, is council's consideration of the approval of the strategic outcomes areas of the organizational strategic plan. Is there a motion that the strategic outcome areas of the OSP are hereby adopted as summarized in the staff memorandum? Councilmember Henkel.
Proudly so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Delgadillo.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? No discussion? Oh, you have to hit the screen to go back to your voting. Remember, it's picture in picture. You can hit the button, unless you want me to write names down like I used to.
No, I'll just be real quick if you don't mind. Thank you all for doing what you do day in and day out. And this is just a note to all staff. It was just such a joy to really see us working together with staff. And, we had a lot of like what you would call, Manager Hoffman, creative abrasion. And I do really appreciate that. And I feel like that's where we're going to find a lot of synergy. We're going to find it in our comprehensive plan as well. And Ms. Briard, you've just done an amazing job of doing a lot of this and leading a lot of it as well. And, I just feel like in times where we look at the TV and the news, it can be really negative and depressing. And you guys brought joy and you guys brought synergy. And I just really appreciate, just the pride that we have in our staff and then who we represent. We know that a lot of our staff live in Broomfield, live and work, obviously, in Broomfield. And there's a reason for it. And I think that we can really create this sense of pride and ownership in what we're doing. And so I just really appreciate all of your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McKenzie.
Same. Indeed, the beauty of the tie-dye shirt along with the hands is not necessarily the different colors, but the interweaving of the colors, the liminal space between and betwixt these colors. And so, same to Councilmember Henkel's comments, very well done and good job.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, then seeing no further discussion. Say that what? Did you want to speak? I'm sorry, Manager Hoffman.
No, no apology necessary. There's a lot of employees that are on the line right now. So out of our 1,500 employees, I think we touched about 85% of them were actively engaged. And it's not only been a 1.5-year process, but really it's been a 2-year journey. And what this has done, particularly for internal staff, it has galvanized us. And so as council knows, and as the community knows, 2026 was a very difficult budget year. And we balanced the budget on the backs of our employees rather than looking at any service level impacts. And it was the highest rated employee survey that we've ever had as we were coming into this. And part of this is the level of engagement. The reason we continue to deliver services with such heart and grit is our most important, valuable resource is our folks. And so to have them come not only with joy, but to really turn out to have a product of meaningful, long-term, every word was scrutinized. Council went on the journey when we were talking about courageous. And what does that mean? And how do you get to that? It was, I think it was a team building exercise for council and staff, unlike anything certainly that I've ever experienced. And to the staff that's here and to online, forever, huge gratitude and grateful for the 2 years of effort. Deep, deep appreciation for all of you.
Let's do one more round of applause. Thank you. Did we vote? No. Okay, so we're going to vote now. Council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward, please state your vote verbally.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote. And the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously. Moving forward. Thank you all again. All right, next under action items this evening is the public hearing for an application for a final plat and a site development plan to construct a new public park in the Baseline neighborhood in North Broomfield. I'll now declare the public hearing open. We'll follow the city's standard public hearing procedures. First, staff will present a summary of the proposal. Next, we'll have the applicant's presentation. Then we'll ask for public comments and final comments from the applicant. Finally, questions from council. Following the council questions, I'll close the hearing. Following the hearing will be council's discussion, consideration of the vote on the application based on the applicable criteria stated in the code. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you. Joining us tonight is our senior planner, Alex Bradshaw, with more joy and fun by talking about a park. Mr. Bradshaw, continue the fun for us, please.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. The project for you this evening is for a site development plan and a final plat for a proposed park located at 16500 Promenade Street. This lot is part of North Park Filing 2. You go to the next slide, please.
It's a party.
The project area is located east of Promenade Street within North Park PUD plan area, otherwise known as the Baseline neighborhood, and spans a total of 10.75 acres. The North Park PUD area features mixed of uses, including residential, commercial, open space, and flex light industrial. Raleigh Park will be part of Phase 3 within the larger network of park and open space parcels, collectively referred to as the Baseline Parklands. The parklands contain a network of pedestrian and bicycle trails, allowing residents and visitors to navigate the open area and Baseline community as a whole. Council previously approved phases 1 and 2 of the parklands, including the Big Green to the north and the parklands south open lands tract located adjacent to the Southlands community between West 160th Avenue and the future extension of Preble Creek Parkway. Next slide. The development review application for the new public park is currently in an undeveloped area of Broomfield and generally located, as I had mentioned, west of 160th Avenue and east of Sheridan Parkway and Promenade Street. Per the submitted application, the new park, referred to as Raleigh Park, is planned as a regional scale and cultural destination for both Baseline residents and the greater Broomfield community. The site development plan establishes several key features, including a signature playground, picnic pavilion with restrooms, pickleball courts, a basketball court and game zone, and some passive picnic and nature areas, as well as other regional trail connections. The project description indicates the proposed approximately 10.75 acre park would be completed in a single phase. Furthermore, the project will continue the progression of the parklands improvements, such as the 2 other parks to the north and south that I had mentioned. The Baseline Design Review Committee has approved the proposal and authorized the developer's submittal of this site development plan to City and County of Broomfield. Next slide. So over the next 2 slides, I've kind of broken it up so you can get a little bit closer imagery of the park itself. So the general site plan details trails proposed as part of the Raleigh Park development, which will connect to existing and future trails that serve the surrounding area. The proposed park includes several key park amenities, which are outlined here on the plan. Next slide, please. So here is the previous slide was the northeastern portion, and this is the southwestern portion of the park. The proposal is in general consistency with the open space, parks, recreation, and trails plan, including the park design standards and trail design standards. Next slide, please. Oh, one last thing I was going to mention in the previous slide is this site is generally not accessible by automobiles and therefore does not have any directly associated parking. Most of the parking, if not all of the parking, will be accommodated via parallel on-street parking on both sides of the adjacent Promenade Street to the west. There are also bike racks located near the entrance to the park at the intersection of Alcott Way and Promenade Street, as well as near the sport courts. Thank you. Next slide. There are a few structures within the site, constructed primarily of brick with metal roofs and perforated modern vine screens. These structures will also include public restrooms. On the slide here is an image of one of those structures. We both have a rendering and an elevation showing the approximate height, which ranges between at a peak height of 10 to 12 feet. Next slide. So again, here we have another version of the structures, and these are located closer to the sport courts to provide some shade, picnic areas, as well as the elevations there. It's a little less of a block structure and more of just a shade structure. Next slide, please. A subdivision improvement agreement between Broomfield and developer outlines the public improvement requirements.
This agreement is eligible to be reviewed and approved administratively by the city manager. Staff has not identified any key issues regarding the proposed development, and the Land Use Review Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the subject proposal during the public hearing held on January 26th of 2026. Next slide. An online concept review through Broomfield Voice was conducted for the multi-phase Baseline Parklands project and was completed in September of 2019. The applicant conducted a neighborhood meeting as well in July of 2025. There were 14 residents in attendance, and comments range from pickleball versus tennis, timing of future improvements, as well as maintenance responsibilities going forward. The public notice requirements were also met during the public hearing phase, including mailing sent at least 10 days in advance of public hearings to all surrounding property owners within 1,000 feet of the subject property. Next slide. In summary, staff did not identify any key issues with the proposal. The zoning for the subject property permits the proposed public recreation use. This slide also details standards for review regarding the final plat and the site development plan. Next slide. Thank you. This concludes staff report, and the applicant is in attendance tonight and is available to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Is there an applicant presentation?
Yes.
Next is the applicant's presentation. Just as we asked us to keep their presentations brief, I asked the applicant to be concise in their presentation. Will the representative please identify themselves for the record before beginning your brief presentation this evening?
Yeah, good evening, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Mike McBride with Realberry. I got a short presentation. I'm just bringing the pretty pictures tonight. Alex did a great job just kind of describing the project. So let's get through it. Next slide. These are our guiding principles. I always bring these up every time, so I'm not going to go through it today. Let's go next slide. This is, I did want to show some pictures of the big green. So this is our, you'll see some images of it later, but this is like kind of our 4-acre turf field that we just finished construction of last year, and it's getting a lot of use. It's got the promenade, which is that center lower picture there, which is kind of our 30-foot triple outlay of trees and kind of a cadence of different uses, play areas, big pollinator gardens, kind of some lounging areas. You know, this was the kind of the first phase of the Parklands, and it turned out great, and the residents of Baseline are loving it. So next slide. And then, yeah, just to locate you where we are in the whole Baseline community, we're at that red dot. You could see the big green right in the center there. And so this is the kind of continuation south of the Parklands connecting the big green. Next slide. And then just kind of talk about what we've done. You know, the big green's at the top of the sheet there. That's our big turf field. We just finished Parklands South, which is at the very bottom of the page. And that's a kind of way more passive area, kind of a more natural area. It is the start of the Baseline Regional Trail. So we just got the kind of the first 800 feet of the regional trail paved, and that's our 12-foot trail with a 3-foot soft crusher fines edge and a lot of kind of native plantings. And we're establishing the kind of the riparian corridor at the south end there. And one thing I did want to note is you know, all the plantings in the channel itself. We are going with a non-irrigated planting scheme. They're kind of native riparian plants, and we're going to use the kind of the water table and the existing water to irrigate all those trees. The trees in the upland areas do need irrigation so that we get big trees up there eventually. But I think that was just a cool scheme I wanted to point out. The other thing on this slide is the regional trail extension with this project. So Parkland South started the first, like I said, the first 800 feet. Raleigh Park is going to bring us the next 3,000 feet of regional trail. So it's going to stretch from Parkland South around Raleigh Park, around the Big Green, up to almost 167th. And this was an obligation in our managed growth and development agreement that's tied with some Parkside West residential development. So I just want to point out that we are meeting this obligation with Raleigh Park and creating a kind of a great stretch of regional trail. It's going to cross that channel a few times. All right, next slide. Alex did a great job of describing these. I'll go through the four big elements: sport court area, a restroom, regional playground, the Grove, which is like our passive picnic area, and all of it connects kind of seamlessly up to the big green. Next slide. And here are the good images. So you see the big green up in the upper right corner there. We've got just kind of really intense recreational areas on the south. That restrooms in the middle, and then the regional playground is up to the north. Next slide. The regional playground, it's trying to be the place at Baseline, and like a kind of an instantly recognizable place. We brought in some really fantastic designers for the playground. Not only our landscape architect Wink, but we've got a custom playground manufacturer out of Canada that's doing a kind of really cool iconic piece right there in the middle. We've got a great mix of kind of nature play, handicap accessible play equipment, and swings and slides and kind of all the things everybody expects. So next slide. Again, that's our big custom structure there in the middle, the three grass blades. And I think one cool thing about the park in general is the grade change. We go from Promenade Street and we go down to the playground, and then we go down to the creek. So, you can kind of see in this picture from the playground, there's a 6 to 8 foot grade change to get up to the street level. So it really kind of tucks this playground in, kind of protects the kids, keeps them in the playground, and you've got kind of great visibility of the whole place. So, all right, next slide. This is our climbing wall. I want to just point out this climbing wall because we've got this great company out of Gunnison called IDS, and they custom carve these climbing walls, and the schemes they come up with are really unique as far as they look at the the 14ers and the climbs that you do in Colorado, and they kind of mimic that same thing through the architecture of the rock. And so they've got keyholes and they've got cracks, and that are all kind of reminiscent of the Colorado mountains. So, all right, next slide. This is our public restroom. So this is it's got a men's and women's restroom. It's got a family restroom. It's got a little bit of storage. It's got a kind of reservable shelter that you can use right there in the middle, and then kind of a general picnic area outside of it. Next slide. And then this is our sport court area. So this is, we've got the pickleball courts, and then, kind of our basketball court. And then we've got this cool scooter track around the whole thing. And, so you could take scooters or BMX bikes or skateboards or something, and just kind of, there is some grade change and little wavy walks to this thing. So the intent here is we all, as playground park designers, we all struggle with creating places that teenagers want to hang out. And so this is our attempt at creating a space that they can be without telling what it is, so they think it's not cool, So, all right, next slide. All right, that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now proceed with public comments. If any residents are using the call-in service, press *9 to raise your hand. We'll start with in person. Please identify yourself, your name and neighborhood, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Roxy Jula Lockmore. I like all of those shade covers that look like leaves. Hopefully you have those, because those are really nice. The whole area is great. Our springs and summer have a lot of hail. And so I was very worried that if you don't have enough cover close to your athletic areas, that could be a very unsafe area. So you might even think about maybe putting a little bit more in, maybe over by the area that was between the courts that are over there. Maybe, into the bushy area where they can at least get underneath it if it's hailing, because that's a long ways away from anywhere except for the bathrooms. So it needs a little bit more cover. The trails and stuff, I don't know who's doing those, whether the city is or whether you guys are, but even on the trails, they need to have, if you could put a couple of those leaves out there along the trails, it is a long ways from the south end to the north end of this beautiful area that's going to be there. Except for the problem is if you get caught out there, none of those little trees or anything is going to help you if you get hit by a hailstorm. So if you guys can think about putting some cover, I'd say, I could probably jog to about 1,000 feet. That's a long ways. If you're a little kid, that might be a little bit too far, but every 1,000 feet along the trail from the south all the way to the north, if you just had a small, like I said, one of those leaves to cover, at least they can get underneath it. Rain, hail, sleet, windstorm, it may not help our windstorms, but at least it'll help the hail. So that's only my only comment. Otherwise, I love this development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to be heard? All right, then. Does, oh, we don't have anybody else. Did you want to comment on that? Are you good? You got the feedback? Okay. Questions from council are next. Members should limit themselves to questions during this portion. Any questions from council? Councilmember Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you for the presentation. I just had some follow-up questions in terms of the thinking. Sort of to follow up on Roxy's comment in terms of the lack of parking and what the thought was there, because in particular for ADA access, if you're required to park along that street, is there reserved parking? Is there going to be space for someone to unload a wheelchair onto a busy street in order to access this park? And things of that nature. Also in the park itself, there's a lot of steps and stairs. Is there adequate design to make sure someone who has mobility issues can make full use of the park?
Yeah, when we are working on the parklands, we think about that parking, we don't want to, it's not a huge area, so we don't want to kind of take away from the park area, but we have looked at that Promenade Street at kind of full development, and it's, based on our kind of analysis of that road, it should hold about 250 cars throughout that stretch. So, and then we can park all, at all the kind of the adjacent roads up there. So, we don't have ADA parking adjacent to this, so that is a good comment. We will figure out something on how to address that. And then everything in the park is ADA accessible. It's all got kind of proper slopes. We have accessibility reviews of like the playground and the restroom and how to get there. So.
Can you review, I missed it in the design there, or in terms of the restrooms, because research will show that, if you have a restroom in a park, the usage goes way up, especially for younger families. If there's no restroom in the park, they can't stay very long.
Yeah.
And so is there adequate restroom services?
Yeah, there's two, there's two restrooms and then there's a family restroom. So there's there's baby changing stations and kind of everything you would expect at a public restroom.
Well, please do look at the parking issue. I do think it sounds like it's designed mainly just for residents in that area to be able to walk to it, but it's got a lot of attractive amenities.
Yep.
That's going to bring people in from outside the neighborhood, and it might cause some issues on that street.
Yeah.
Is my concern. I also just have to ask one thing that came up. Can you tell me on the name of the park, the Big Green? Is that honorific for the nonprofit here in Broomfield?
I don't think it is, but there's a little green park in Baseline, and then it's connected by that Woonerf, which is that pedestrian street. So that's kind of that's how
Big Green is a little bit of a notorious history. So
okay,
that was just the concern. Okay, thank you.
I hadn't heard that.
All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Lim.
Thank you. The architect renderings make it look to me like the park facilities that we're looking at are close to the industrial flex buildings. But yet when I look at the map, it looks like there's some undeveloped land that's between the park and the street next to the industrial flex buildings. I'm trying to reconcile the two. They didn't look the same in my mind. And that the whole idea that that playground or whatever facility would end abruptly, there's a street in the industrial flex was kind of concerning to me, if that's the case.
Yeah, no, you know, when we did the borings for the geotech, we got a bunch of stakes out there and we like put a stake where the restroom's gonna be and a stake where the structure's gonna be. And it was actually pretty pleasing because it is a more compact area than you would think. And where the big green is, it does kind of activate 3 sides of that thing, which is cool. But in relation to the industrial buildings, it's across the channel. The industrial buildings have the slope going up to it. And it's not kind of in the same space, you know?
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Will the picnic pavilions, will they be first come, first serve, rented or reserved or?
Yeah, so we have Cohere is our kind of our HOA manager, and they'll manage reservations at the restrooms and the shelters. If nobody's there, they're first come, first serve, but you could rent them for a birthday party or something. And then we are working with some Broomfield groups about like outdoor classrooms and interpretation areas for the playground one, because that kind of stretches out into the kind of the nature area. And we're thinking about like some like adventures or some challenges you can have as far as like, here's your home base and now go out into the park and find frogs or something, you know?
Okay, so that is interesting. Then the MGDA has this initially owned by the Metro District and then in 10 years being turned over to the city, but you intend for this park to be used by the general public the whole time that the Metro District owns it, correct?
Correct. It's got a public access easement on it. It's all available to the public. The district wants to build on their property, so it gets transferred to the district. And then once the improvements are complete and the warranty is completed, the land gets dedicated to the city as public open lands. All the improvements stay under the purview of the Metro District as far as maintenance.
Okay, thanks. And this is to the attorney. So I am concerned, as Councilmember Cohen is, about whether there are ADA accessible parking spaces on Promenade, you know, that you can park along there and get into the park. I guess I wanted you to entertain the idea that we would condition approval of this based on that there is ADA accessible parking along Promenade for the park.
Mayor Pro Tem Lim, can you give me a moment? I want to check something about the scope of the land that's covered by the actual application on this, and if it includes Promenade. But if we can continue the discussion and maybe, if even appropriate, Mayor, go to our break so I can look at that issue and can talk about that condition. After council's done with their discussion. I won't need long.
Okay, thanks. Those are my questions. Thanks.
All right, so for clarification, we should take our recess before voting?
It was just a suggestion. I'm sure there's other council members that have other comments on this. And I thought if I needed more time than the discussion has, then that could be an option. But no, please continue with the discussion.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rogers. Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you. And this is super exciting, and I love all of this, but I do have a question about the pickleball courts. And the pickleball courts are going to go in before the housing units that will eventually be across Promenade there. But has there been any thought put into there's always noise concerns that come with pickleball. And right now there's like not much of a barrier other than it's sunk down a little bit. And is the thought to address it in the future if it would be problematic to the people moving in? Or, I mean, they're going to know it's there when they move in. So what were the thoughts on
Yeah.
the noise?
We did, through our review, we did get comments on the pickleball and the noise. It's been an issue in multiple jurisdictions in Colorado, obviously. Commerce City did a study on, like a white paper study on the noise of pickleball, and it's a really dry paper, but it's like from a sound engineer perspective. They looked at it as far as, you want to keep it about 500 feet from residences, so it doesn't, so that noise doesn't become an issue. We looked at our layout and we're about 360 feet from residences, but we are tucking it down, down the slope, like I said, that 6 to 8 feet. And then we did strategically plant that slope. So we've got kind of those bigger evergreens along between the pickleball and the street there. So we did the best we could to kind of mitigate that issue. It is tough. We don't have a ton of room out there. Even during the neighborhood meeting, we got comments about tennis courts. We could fit about one tennis court where the pickleball courts are. So we're looking at different other locations for tennis in the parklands. But yes, we did consider the pickleball, the noise and the issues that it creates. We also were going to light the pickleball courts, and then we decided not to, so that people didn't play too late.
Oh, that's actually, yeah, that's probably a good idea then. Okay, and then also on the pickleball courts, there's not a lot of publicly accessible pickleball courts around, and some of them in the area. There's one in Erie, and there's a lot of them have reservation systems. Or I'm just curious if you're thinking about, I guess that there's a complexity level included with reservations, and to ensure like the actual residents living nearby can utilize them. And maybe this was more to be, maybe the thought process is be more generally accessible to everyone, but at least at a minimum, like rules of etiquette, like to limit your amount of time so that you're not there for more than a half an hour. Somebody else is waiting for the court, or what was your thought around the popularity of pickleball?
I think it's in the same vein as the reservations for the picnic shelters and for birthday parties and stuff like that. Cohere, our HOA manager, will probably have a reservation system that, maybe you get priority, or if you're in baseline, or maybe there's hours that are reservable and there's hours that aren't. So I don't think we've dove that far into it, but we do have a manager that will handle that. So.
Okay, yeah, that's my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McKenzie.
Many thanks, and quite exciting. The question I had was around the maintenance. So would you help clarify for me that the baseline, the residents, our metro taxes will cover the maintenance, and the metro board will need to ensure the maintenance, and we'd have to hold the metro board responsible?
Correct. So the metro district will take care of the maintenance. Again, the land will get transferred to the city as public open lands. And then there are provisions in our agreements with the city that says, hey, something happens to the metro district and we have to hand that over to the city as a city park. The metro district would be responsible for revising anything to kind of meet city standards. So if there was an irrigation controller or something that didn't meet the city standards, the district would have to revise that before handing it over. But we don't foresee that. We see the district maintaining it in perpetuity.
Okay. And on the reservations, is there any potential for cost to help cover the management, or is cost off the table?
Cost to reserve something? Mm-hmm. I'm sure that'll be considered, yes.
Okay. And the rock climbing wall, how high is that? Is it suitable for little kids?
So I think it's about 12 feet. So there's the difference between those two levels is about 10, and then the rock wall goes past it, so it kind of acts like a guardrail, and then but it kind of tapers off on both ends. So I think, yeah, you could boulder up to the smaller section and kind of go horizontal a little bit and then kind of head up the crack. But no, I think the intent is that it has multiple difficulties on it,
Any risk of injury or padding underneath?
Yeah, it's got playground safety surfacing underneath. And the safety surfacing is all designed for the full heights.
Okay, cool. What you didn't mention on the grading is that on the big green, it's an excellent slope for sledding.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. If we ever got any snow.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Councilmember Hinkle.
Where I break out in a song, let it snow, let it snow. Thank you for this tonight. You know, I don't know if you were there. I think you were, maybe, probably not. UC Health came in and then a lot of people wanted tennis courts, right? We have a huge contingency that I was fully unaware of hundreds of people wanting tennis courts. So at least pickleball courts is gonna be filling the need. And I echo Councilmember Anderson's thoughts on sound. We've heard that out of Denver, pickleball and sound issues. So being cognizant of that and just making sure that the sound that we hear from other issues in other areas is not the same issues that we're gonna have here. So I just want to put that out there. And then the second part, my question is, you know, I'm a tennis player myself, but haven't played in a while because I put all my effort into my kids. So long story short, we have soil issues obviously wherever. And I feel like, you know, with the maintenance to piggyback, that was kind of my question too, was like the maintenance, who's going to be in charge of that? With courts, it can be a little bit testy with soil. So I'm curious as to what the soil sampling looks like. Are we going to be replacing any sort of shifting soils or expansive soils? And what would that look like for that area?
Yeah, so, you know, we got a thorough geotech recommendations. We kind of gave them our programming and said, we're going to restroom, we're going to have this huge tall structure, playground structure. We're going to have post-tension slab for the basketball and the pickleball. So it is, yeah, it is a reinforced slab. And then we do, just like we do the houses out there, we over excavate and recondition that soil. So it's about 3 feet that we have to dig out, kind of build it up in layers with the correct moisture and then compact it at the same time. So we have recommendations specifically for the programming we're looking out for out there. And so I think we've got the best construction technique we could have out there.
Okay, great. And then just any time I've seen parks go up like this, I just want to hesitate on, or not hesitate, but just emphasize any sort of shading in the area is
Yep.
going to be pretty important. And then are there bathroom facilities there or I didn't,
Yeah, this will be the first public restroom open all year. It'll be heated and kind of maintained by the district. So.
okay. Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other first round comments before I go back to Councilmember McKenzie? Back to you, Councilmember McKenzie.
Quick, no lights at the pickleball, any lights at the basketball court or no?
We didn't light the basketball court. We've got a lot of site lighting, but we didn't light the court like a sport court, you know? Mostly just because we just didn't want to police it later into the evening, you know?
All right. Councilmember Anderson.
Okay, thought of one more question, and I don't think we covered this, the timing on this. If this is approved today, like when would this be open and ready for visitors?
Yeah, good question. I've got contractors are bidding it right now. So we got pricing coming back March 12th. And then I'm looking to take it to a board meeting on April 2nd, start construction in May, and I want it open summer 2027. So that's my goal. That's Kyle's goal. So I got to get it open for Kyle.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from my colleagues? None. Next is council's, the public hearing is closed. Next is council's consideration of proposed resolution number 2026-27. Will the clerk please read the proposed resolution by title?
7C, proposed resolution number 2026-27, approving North Park filing number 2, replat 1, final plat, and North Park filing number 2, replat 1, tract B, and North Park filing number 2, replat D, tract A, Z, site development plan.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Councilmember Anderson?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Henkel?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Ms. Rogers?
Yes, Madam Mayor, if I could have a moment to address the issue of the ADA. So the promenade is not included in this site plan, and we wouldn't want to do a condition onto a public right-of-way. So, right, because what we're pretty much saying is, developer, please do something on the public street that is not necessarily yours. We could address that later. Staff has another option that we're exploring, which would be to mandate on-site accessible parking within an area. But if I could, Mayor, if it would be appropriate, if we could take our 8 o'clock break, this would allow time for staff to also talk with the developers rep at this point too, and we can come back with more information.
That sounds ideal. Is that okay with council? All right, well then we're going to go ahead and take our 10-minute recess. It's 8:15. We'll be back at 8:25. Thank you. Thank you. And we're back. Thank you for your patience. We've just come back from recess, and I'm going to turn it over to City and County Attorney Nancy Rogers to give us an update.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. As you saw during the break, we were meeting with the developer and talking with staff. This is a challenging condition to design at this point, but the developer did say that they would agree to provide off-street parking, ADA compliant off-street parking for the parklands. So that would serve Rally Park, the Big Green, and the Buzz. That would be put in when the Buzz is put in. So the timing might not be as soon, it's not going to be as soon as Rally Park. However, in the interim, staff can administratively work with the developer to have a temporary parking lot off-site or the off-street with ADA compliant parking. So that's sort of the condition that we could present it to now for council. Another option is address this in a further plan that might come to council. As I mentioned, no one in staff would recommend that we add a condition that imposes a requirement on a right-of-way, a public right-of-way that's already been dedicated to Broomfield, although it hasn't been built yet. Hasn't been dedicated, I'm sorry. It hasn't been built yet. It hasn't been accepted by Broomfield. We just don't think that's probably a good viable solution. So this is what could be done at this point, and we're available for questions if council has them.
Can I ask you what your recommendation is? Because there seem like a few options that
No, if council wants to impose a condition, I think the condition that we talked about, the providing ADA compliant parking for the parklands that serves Rally, the Big Green, and Buzz, I think that's a good solution. The trails that are going through the development are ADA accessible, so the hope is people can navigate easily through that whole area, parking in that one sort of central, sort of north area parking. But I'd also like to invite the developers rep if they have any comments on this concept. I mean, adding a condition, we don't do it too often for council, so this is similar to an amendment, although we don't follow that amendment process, similar to an amendment. So as you know, there's months of planning that goes into these, so we're trying to figure out the best plan here. That's why it might not be as specific, like if you're going to ask how many spots, we wouldn't recommend getting that specific at this time and letting staff work with the developer should this condition get approved. But I'll stop talking now and turn it over to the developer's rep.
Please.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks so much, everybody, for convening real quick. You know, I see it as like a, you know, we got Center Street up on the north there. We got the, you know, we're still looking at the Buzz up there. That would be kind of a string of activities in the parklands. Rally Park is tough. There's a lot of grade change. You know, I was talking with my designer. We don't think we could fit an off-street parking lot down there, and it kind of ruins the whole vibe of the parkland. So you know, I'm thinking about like almost like a trail, like a trailhead, like you would, where you kind of, maybe it's a gravel parking lot, and then we've got some concrete ADA parking spaces, and that's connected via concrete to the trail system, and that could serve like those three areas that we talked about. So I think we could find some interim conditions that provides us kind of legal ADA parking until we get kind of that the Buzz, which is that program element, which would have an off-street parking lot. So.
All right, well, thank you. Is there recommended language for this conditional approval?
Yes, I'm cleaning it up right now.
Thank you. Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Lim.
So this is going to be, you're saying the timing of this is not going to be until the Buzz is constructed? Because the reason I ask is I read the neighborhood comments on this, and there were comments, there were questions in there in that neighborhood meeting about when is the Buzz going to be done? And the answer from the developer was kind of who knows. So, you know, this is a little uncomfortable that it's way, this park, is this park going to be finished? You want to finish the park in summer of 27, and it's going to be summer of 35 when we have this ADA parking?
No, I think the idea was the Buzz would handle all the ADA parking for the Parklands. There's a temporary condition that provides some temporary ADA parking. Like I said, like a gravel trailhead parking lot with some concrete parking stalls that kind of meet those ADA requirements. So that temporary situation would be immediate, and then the Buzz would handle
Okay.
whenever that comes online, that would be the
That's
ultimate
much better. Thank you.
solution.
I understand better now. So the interim parking will be constructed at the same time the Rally Park is constructed.
Correct.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Oh, Councilmember Twist. Thank you.
Thank you. So to follow along Mayor Pro Tem Lim's question about the Buzz, my understanding from our previous few baseline area meetings is that the Buzz was not only postponed, but potentially being moved from its original designed location. So not only the timeline, but I'm wondering about the location and how far away the permanent ADA accessible parking will be from this park.
It's still generally in the same area, kind of north of the Big Green. It's kind of moving up and down that street a little bit, but again, I think the solution for tonight is to make sure we've got immediate ADA parking for the facilities, and then once the idea for the Buzz comes into view, we'll make sure we've got appropriate ADA parking for the Parklands.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Cohen.
Just to follow up on Councilmember Twist and Mayor Pro Tem, I think if we can have interim parking now, but ideally located a little closer than what you're describing, I don't think I'd ever describe accessible parking as ruining a vibe of anywhere.
Yeah.
It's exclusionary. And we shouldn't pass any policies that leaves part of our community unable to access some great amenities that are accessible to everybody else. So I think going forward, you need to really make sure you have accessible parking. Not everybody can just walk, and not everybody can just get out of a car and easily access your park. And I think we need to take that into consideration going forward. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I did not mean to say that accessible parking ruins the vibe. It was the off-street parking, so.
Well, I have nothing else. I'm just, so what's next, Ms. Rogers?
So at this point, you can also discuss other aspects of the park if there were any other questions. And then if Councilmember Cohen or anyone else wanted to introduce that condition, we have it almost ready to put on the board.
Councilmember Cohen.
I will, or Mayor Pro Tem, whichever your preference is. I will so move whatever the city attorney has written down.
It should come up on the screen, right? So we can see the language.
I think, James, I sent it to you. It's a Google Doc, not a slide. Sorry.
I admire your swift work, Ms.
Well,
and everybody.
Thank the crack shot team.
All right, there's the condition of approval, Councilmember Cohen.
We'll make it a little bit bigger. So what this means is it would be on the resolution for approval in one of the bottom sections to say the developer will provide off-street ADA compliant parking for the Parklands that will serve Rally Park, the Big Green, and the Buzz. In the interim, staff will administratively work with the developer to establish a temporary parking lot with ADA compliant parking to serve Rally Park.
Right. Does he have to say it?
No, he doesn't have to say it.
Okay, so that's the condition of approval. Does it need a second?
It does need a
How
second.
about you, Mayor Pro Tem Lim?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the condition of approval? I have to flip back. Councilmember Anderson.
Okay, so I have a question related to the, this ensures that the Buzz goes for, the Buzz is absolutely going forward. Is that correct? Like at some point in time, but like what if the plan turns out to be that there is, like the Buzz never is approved? Or is that like a definite, like there's no concern that would not go forward?
Yeah, I'm not saying the buzz is, I'm not committing the buzz, because I can't do that, but I'm committing that we will provide off-street ADA parking for at least in the temporary phase. And then, let's say the buzz doesn't happen. I've got 4 more phases of Parklands development. We'll make sure we've got those facilities in place.
Okay, so this is a question from our attorney, Ms. Rogers. So if something changed and the buzz became something different, then that's okay. It would just go forward with a different, that could be amended later.
I would actually say that this condition doesn't need the buzz to exist for the condition to apply. So if the buzz doesn't exist, I would read this to say the developer promised to provide parking that will serve Raleigh Park and the Big Green. Those two still exist. You agreed to provide parking for those 2 areas. So even if the buzz is changed or has to knock off, I don't think that negates the whole condition.
Okay, thank you. That's good enough. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So we have a condition of approval moved by Councilmember Cohen and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. We had discussion, so now we vote on the condition, and then we have to do we have to vote again on the entire resolution? Okay, got it. So let's vote, council, on the condition of approval. Council, please cast your vote electronically. And Councilmember Ward, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That condition of approval passes unanimously 9-0. Now let's go back to the resolution. Do I say as amended?
As condition.
As conditioned, thank you. I'm flying without a script. All right, so is there a motion to approve the resolution as conditioned? Got it. I got Councilmember McKenzie.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Councilmember Henkel.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Excellent. Council, please cast your vote electronically. And Councilmember Ward, please.
Yes.
Thank you. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously. Thank you so much for working with us and appreciate the work on the fly from everybody. All right. So next item under action items this evening is the public hearing for the approval of a text amendment to the Mid-Cities Planned Unit Development Plan. I'll now declare the public hearing open. We'll follow the city's standard public hearing procedures. First, staff will present a summary of the proposal. Next, we'll have the applicant's presentation, then public comments, final comments from the applicant, finally questions from City Council. Following the hearing, council's discussion, consideration, and vote on the application based on the applicable criteria stated in the code. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Judy Hammer, Principal Planners, joining us this evening, knows the topic well. Ms. Hammer.
Thank you, City Manager Hoffman. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. Judy Hammer, representing the Planning Division. The application includes an amendment to the Mid-Cities PUD Plan Development Plan per the staff report that was provided. Next slide, please. The property is located at 480 Flatiron Boulevard, just east of the Walmart Supercenter and west of the Locke Apartment Complex, and is subject to the Mid-Cities Planned Unit Development Plan. The comprehensive plan land use designation is mixed-use commercial. This proposed 10th amendment is consistent with that land use designation. The comprehensive plan describes mixed-use commercial areas as those characterized by commercial, employment, and multifamily or single-family attached residential uses. As a guide, no more than 30% of the land area within the mixed-use commercial district should be utilized for residential uses unless approved through the PUD process. When considered with the overall Mid-Cities PUD plan area, the proposed multi-unit residential use is consistent with the intended mixed-use commercial uses. If the subject site is utilized for residential as proposed, the total acres used for residential land within the entire Mid-Cities PUD plan remains less than 30% of that overall area. When considering the entire Mid-Cities PUD plan, approximately 210.5 acres or 20% of the overall PUD plan area would be residential. Next slide, please. The PUD plan identifies this property as being within planning area tract 6. It indicates that the preferred land use is mixed-use transit-oriented development. It also does not currently allow for standalone residential development on this property, nor are there any remaining residential units to allocate to this site within that plan. This proposed amendment would allow for this standalone residential and increase the number of residential units that would be permitted to 150. It would also allow for curb stops. The text amendment only applies to this subject site, Lot 1, Mid-Cities, filing number 1. In compliance with the income aligned requirements, the development will provide 20% or 30 of the apartment units at the minimum requirements of 60% AMI. City Council recently approved ordinance number 2273, which codified how to calculate public land dedication requirements. This slide shows a brief synopsis of those calculations. The additional 150 residential units trigger a total PLD obligation of 6.89 acres. Of this obligation, 0.45 acres or 15% of the total acreage is required to be provided on-site or via a cash in lieu payment. The average value per acre is currently at $86,000 per acre. Cash in lieu for the PLD is currently estimated at $658,200. The final cash in lieu payment will be calculated at the time of the building permit, and it will be based on the average value of the land in effect at that time. Next slide, please. The City Council reviewed the concept plan during a study session on November 19, 2024. The Land Use Review Commission reviewed the request on October 13, 2025, and then on January 26, 2025. After the October 13, 2025 hearing, the applicant withdrew from the project, but the property owner continued with the application, making changes to the affordable housing quantities being offered. The Land Use Review Commission recommended approval by a vote of 4-0. The applicant hosted a neighborhood meeting on October 31, 2024. Noticing was accomplished per the Broomfield Municipal Code. Next slide, please. The City Council reviews the PUD plan amendment based on the following provisions of the Broomfield Municipal Code. Resolution number 2026-28 outlines draft findings for the council's consideration of this application request. Next slide, and then the following slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for questions. Otherwise, the consultant and property owner are also here and will present their proposal in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Harmer. Will the applicant come on up to the podium? You're next. Just as we ask our staff to keep their presentations brief, I ask the applicant to be concise. Will the applicant's representative please identify themselves for the record before beginning their presentation?
Yeah, good evening. Christopher Hare and Sky Stewart, and we're part of the project team working on the PUD text amendment. And you can go to the next slide, please. Also with us tonight is Aaron Bagley, who is with Three Wall. They are the current owner of the property, so available also to help answer any questions that may come up. Next slide. So we're in the first step of bringing vibrance back to this property, and the approach here is one of bringing a use into allowed zoning for multifamily that will help with bringing back that vibrance and reinvigorating the property. So adaptive reuse is the strategy by reusing the existing hotel suites and turning that into market rate and affordable housing. We're reusing that physical plant. And from a sustainability perspective, that's just an excellent way to go. It's the highest, most efficient way to be sustainable. As part of the project, there will be cosmetic updates to the exterior, and there's also landscaping that needs to be restored. There's some dead trees, there's some irrigation that's failed, things of that nature that need to be addressed. There's also issues with paving, as has come up a couple times tonight, and I'm sure you're familiar with just your area, how challenging the soils can be at times. So the parking lot needs to be resurfaced. There's also work that will be done to bring parking into compliance with current code as part of the arc of the project. Primarily vehicular parking, changing striping patterns, removing compact spaces, and as well as complying with bicycle parking requirements that are different now than they were 26 years ago. And I already mentioned adaptive reuse. So next slide. So the property as a hotel suites, it's an extended stay hotel. So I'm going to start in the lower right here with the unit features, just to clarify that these are not hotel rooms in a conventional sense where it's just a bed and a bathroom. They have fully functioning kitchens, full baths. And so the possibility to convert these units, and there's a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, into affordable housing and market rate housing. It's a very straightforward process because they're already in the units set up as apartments. The property also has amenities that are listed: pool, fitness center. The breakfast area is easily converted into kind of a community or a co-working space, on-site laundry, of course, Wi-Fi, and I mentioned bicycle parking. So that's the property. And next slide. And so I'm going to just cover briefly the unit mix and then turn it over to Sky to carry the torch here. In that 150 units, we've got 112 studios, 8 1-bedrooms, and 32 bedrooms. And Sky.
Yeah, thank you. We know there's a demonstrable need for a diversity of housing in Broomfield, including additional affordable units. This hotel use is really underperforming as it is, and so we see an opportunity to really bring some long-term housing here to Broomfield with this. As Judy said, we are planning to meet the code requirement around affordable housing, but also want to say that that's really a minimum for us. We've had some conversations with other project partners and would like to continue to do that as we can guarantee that there will be housing allowed on this site. So those conversations would continue, including with Broomfield Housing Alliance, who we have had a number of discussions with about additional affordability on this site. And again, as an adaptive reuse, we really think this is also an opportunity for some naturally occurring affordable housing because it's an older property that would be converted. Its rents, while we don't know what those would be yet, are likely to be much more attainable than brand new luxury product also in this area. Next slide, please. This is just a reminder for all of us of who's served by housing in the community, particularly affordable housing, and we really want to be that workforce housing, that attainable housing for a wide variety of the community. Next slide. This is just a touch on community outreach. We really have a philosophy of starting with the most impacted neighbors first and building out in concentric circles. So we did host a community meeting with adjacent neighbors, talked to some adjacent businesses. And then this site is also included in a number of different entities, the Metro District, the Flatiron Owners Association, and I've spent quite a bit of time having individual meetings with those groups as well to make sure that they are comfortable with the concept moving forward. Next slide. As Judy said, this current zoning does not allow for standalone housing. And so this request is really to facilitate that standalone housing being a certainty going forward. And that does fit within the mixed use commercial designation in the comp plan. Next slide. really want to highlight what approval means for us. This is really for us a first step in this conversation. This PUD amendment is the only way to ensure that we can provide housing on that site. And that facilitates future conversations about additional opportunities for greater affordability, deeper affordability. Once we can tell with certainty a partner that housing is allowed on the site, we can continue conversations trying to find the right partner to move forward. In contrast, denial really just keeps that underperforming hotel use stuck, locked in time there. Next slide. We know that you follow quasi-judicial process here and that there are a number of approval criteria you consider. So we just wanted to highlight that we believe we meet all of those criteria and ask for your support in this rezoning tonight. Next slide. And the team is here for questions if you need anything. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll now proceed with public comments. If any residents are using the call-in service, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. Anyone in the public? Any comments? All right, well then I will go to council questions next. Questions from my colleagues. Councilmember Twist.
Thank you. This is a question for staff. I'm wondering if there is a time limit on the neighborhood engagement requirement.
Clarify that question for me, would you,
The
Councilmember?
neighborhood meeting was almost 1.5 years ago. I feel like some things might have changed. There might be new neighbors. There might, I'm wondering what the time limit is. Is there an expiration date on engagement?
Ms. Merwin, phoning a friend.
Councilmember, City Manager, there is no time limit on that public engagement for the neighborhood meeting as currently written in our code.
Wow. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Mayor Pro Tem Lim.
Thank you. Well, I guess I would like to ask the developer why now? So, I mean, obviously I was here in November of 24, and for that concept review. So, we gave feedback at that time. I don't know if you were here. I'm sorry, I don't remember. So why now? And not sooner, I guess. And yeah, go ahead.
So I think that the why now and why not sooner, it has to do with just market realities and transacting real estate, because there were prior efforts to look at site redevelopment, and it involved property acquisition, and the real estate deal for a variety of reasons didn't go through. And so this is current ownership's effort to continue the process of getting the PUD text amendment done, which really is a gateway to allowing the redevelopment and rehabilitation of the property. So to me, the delay is market-related real estate. It takes time, and it fell apart kind of situation.
Okay, there's a statement in the memo. I mean, you're indicating that you're even thinking about stretching the inclusionary housing mandate further, but there's a statement in the memo that says, while the owner intends to provide on-site units in conformance with Broomfield's IHO, there are alternative options for meeting this obligation, approving it based on this condition. That you have the option still at this point to just provide cash in lieu. And so what is your intent? When I read that statement, I'm a little curious about what your intent is, because I remember in the study session in 24, there were quite a few of us who said, if you bring this forward with 100% inclusionary housing, we might think about entertaining this notion. So the idea that the memo is saying, well, they could just do all cash and lieu makes me a little uncomfortable. So if you can address your intent.
So Judy, I may ask for your help here, but we're setting a floor and there's a, behind the scenes, a memorandum, an MOU that has been signed to provide 20, to meet the code requirement, the 20% of the units income limited at 60% AMI. But the floor is set, but the ceiling is not. That's the way that I interpret it. So depending on how things move forward, once we've gotten through this gateway first step to allow, the reinvigoration of the property in a housing form, then the conversation can continue to unfold. And, you as a council, Broomfield as a community are guaranteed the 20% of the units at 60% AMI, and it could be more. Go ahead.
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Lim. We put that in the staff report because per the Broomfield Municipal Code, there is the allowance for either cash in lieu or providing the units. And absent of an agreement, we give that leeway. However, they have consistently indicated that they were going to provide the minimum.
They're consistent. Okay, thank you. Is the applicant at all concerned in converting this to residential that there is not any public land dedication on site? And that, if there's children in the units that, how far away do they have to go? For
Well, the site, have you been to do you know the property at all? So the site is, it's developed and it's constrained by the large retaining wall to the south. There's limited space that is on property. So it's, there's not much opportunity to meet that requirement on site. Hence the PLD calculations and for the on-site portion in addition to the off-site portion. But I would just point again to the sustainability of adaptive reuse as a strategy, that addresses sustainability.
I would maybe just add in, the site does have a pool. There's going to be some options within the amenities of the site. I hear you about, a playground or something for kids. It's also really good trail access from the site. The site is constrained, so we're trying to live within the footprint that we have.
Okay. And there's a recommendation in the report from Rocky Mountain Airport that since this is in an airport influence area, there's a recommendation that the retrofit includes sound improvements to deal with those noise levels. Is that in the scope of what you're envisioning?
So, and I'll let Christopher jump in if I get any of this wrong, but wholesale, we wouldn't be replacing windows, but as there need to do so, we would do that to the, the higher level that's required. Typically, hotel construction already does provide a fair amount of noise mitigation in its construction to begin with. I think there was also discussion about notifying residents that an airport is nearby, having waivers. That's all things that we've talked about and are willing to do.
Okay, thank you.
One other point to make there is that Three Wall, the current owner of the property, has not had noise complaints. So it's it's an empirical comment, but the hotel guests don't complain about the airport noise.
Okay, thank you. This question is for staff. So there's a note in the memo and in the presentation that if this is converted from commercial to residential, that the threshold for the residential land uses within the Mid-Cities PUD plan is still met. So how close are we in that? It's, it's supposed to be 30%. The cap of residential land is 30% of the overall PUD plan. So how close does this bring us to that cap? And the motive behind that question is, will we see this in other areas in mid-cities then, this kind of request?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Lim. Generally, right now, it's at 20% of the overall mid-cities PUD plan that has residential. With this 0.4 acre, 150 units, that would put it at approximately 22% of the overall plan. So you have about 8% after that to get it to 30%. Did I answer your
Yes,
question?
yeah. I'm
Okay.
Thinking, sorry. And this is either, I guess the applicant or staff could answer. Do I recall correctly that this property has requested abatements on its commercial taxes?
Yes, I believe so because of the nature of it. And I'm looking at Aaron just to confirm that I'm going to get these numbers right. We do have a slide that's in an appendix if you wanted to pull it back up. I believe it's slide 16. Because of the nature of some longer term residents that we have come in and had that conversation. And over the last 5 years, it has really been a mix of commercial and residential valuation associated with that. You can see here that the historical property tax payments have taken into account that long-term residential nature. So over those last 5 years, it's really been split, 75-25 commercial versus residential.
Okay, so then this is for staff. Is the financial impact in converting the property from the hotel to the residential, does it reflect the tax abatements that we have approved for this property?
I'm going to have Mr. Romine come down. It's also, as Mr. Romine addresses that question, taking into account that this will be a permanent change rather than a based on occupancy change. Mr. Romine.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, council members. As Manager Hoffman pointed out, those temporary types of things reflect the conditions of the property and the conditions of the operation of the property. And so as it adjusted from, we'll call it, a daily use, therefore it would be purely a commercial into a longer term use where you exceed basically the short-term use and it turns into a residential property, i.e. roughly a month or longer. That begins to change its tax equivalency for the assessor. So that's why you start seeing that. If it were a fully operating as it was, we'll call it 20 years ago, it wouldn't have gotten that. And so that's part of this. To go then specifically to your question, Mayor Pro Tem and Council, the reality is the financial analysis that I did has to be based upon not the specific conditions of an individual building under renovation. It's really against the general approach. So I looked at it from the standpoint, if it were well-managed, well-operating, up-to-date property, if they chose to reinvest in the property and make it a long-term, a regular hotel with regular occupancy, that's what the analysis is doing, if that helps.
Yes.
And if I could just make one final statement, that is something that we have tried to think about increasingly, and we brought to council's attention, is thinking about how we do rehab and reinvestment. And that's a difficult part of the analysis that we do. And it has to be on an individual basis. And that's not what this particular fiscal note talked about. So thank you.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Brown.
I am going to pick up where Mayor Pro Tem Lim left off, I think. So I just want to verify that basically the memo said that there was a single key issue with the change in land use. The presentation said there were no key issues identified. So I'm just trying to reconcile that. So in the memo, it talked about the property being projected to contribute an estimated $60,000 in net positive annual tax and fee revenue to CCOB. I think I'm hearing that that's not based on the average occupancy for last year of 59%. It's instead that was aspirational. Is that where the 60,000 came from?
Mr. Roman, you better walk back
Sorry.
over there to that podium.
It was based on what the city normally sees, not on the particular property. So I wouldn't call it aspirational. I would call it market reality. And so it's the difference between where this property is, this particular operation is compared to where everything else would be in the city, as opposed to using the term aspirational, which would be much, much higher probably anyway.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. So I think maybe this is a question for you, Ms. Hammer. The presentation identifying no key issues, that is more of your recommendation today, not necessarily what we saw in the memo with that being really called out of that $60,000 potential net loss to the city?
Thank you for the question, and I appreciate you catching that error on my part. That was a typo from the LURC. The Land Use Review Commission does not review financials. So with that presentation, I failed to add the key issue onto the city council presentation so that that key issue does stand. I apologize, and thank you for calling that to our attention.
Okay, thank you. I do have one more money question. I'm not sure which of you it's the right, the answer to this, but can somebody clarify what CCOB's total investment is via the fee waivers and tax rebates that are going to support the affordable units? It does mention that we will be making an investment, but it doesn't specify how much.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members. So the way that the fee waiver works is if it hits to a certain AMI level, then it begins to apply. And so that's what it does. And then it's a percentage of it. So when it goes through the permitting process, there would be, in this particular case, a 20% reduction that would match up. So it calculates based upon that as it would the other way from the assessment standpoint, if there's a reduction in the rent levels. And so the assessment level is adjusted downward. So that's really what that's getting at. When it was being proposed at one time, and I'll just use that as example, as 100% affordable, then the fees would have been waived at 50% according to the way that the council has approved that ordinance in the past. And then occasionally developers have asked for a further level of fee waiver. If it also received what's called a special limited partnership through the Broomfield Housing Alliance, then it would also achieve a different level of property tax. So depending upon exactly what the characteristic is of the units and how they are income or quite frankly, rent restricted, that would determine exactly where we'd be, both from the fees that are going through the planning department, the permit, the use taxes and other taxes. So at this point, at this level, not sure that we can tell you exactly what that number would be, other than it would be some reduction.
Councilmember Brown, if I may clarify, Mr. Roman, just to give a point of reference for council, generally per unit for a 60% AMI, what is the subsidy per unit? How about a range?
Yeah, I'm just trying to go through this. I have so many other numbers running through my head right now because of something else, but we have seen it range anywhere from, when it is a full unit type thing, it would be about $50,000 to $75,000. A unit is what that range of support might be. And again, it depends upon exactly how we come into it. But it will vary oftentimes. And again, it depends on whether it's going to be a full reduction.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next is Councilmember Henkel.
Thank you, Mayor. Lots of great questions up here. I did have also the question, like Mayor Pro Tem Lim, talking about, children accessibility to playgrounds. If we can figure out something like that. I don't even know if there's a childcare facility nearby. That's not really a question. Sorry. My question is about deed restriction. Normally we do deed restrictions on home ownership. So I'm a little confused on how that pertains to rent, because it seems like it's a rent cap. Is that correct? Or how are we doing deed restriction on rent?
So I'm not going to call this financial world my strong suit, but I understand this, and actually I believe that he just clarified that rent restrictions, CHFA's rent restrictions set the rent levels that are associated with the different AMI levels. And when CHFA updates those, so we're talking about 20% of the units, 30 units, rent restricted at 60% AMI, and there's a CHFA table that's updated, I think annually, that sets those rent levels. And so the rent for those units could not be north of the CHFA number. Did that help?
Okay, and for how many years?
40 years,
4 years?
40.
Okay, I was gonna say. That was a little shocking. Okay, thank you. And staff, are we seeing that, I don't think the hotel was like very frequented quite a bit, or it was by various populations. Are we seeing that when we see people move in here, are we seeing probably an increase in the local commercial areas? Because usually when we populate one side, it helps the other side. So I know we're losing 175,000 annually. However, I'm wondering what kind of stimulus this might be for its local commercial.
Mayor Pro Tem Council members, Councilmember Henkel. I do mention that in the fiscal note that says that it will do two things. One, it will increase perhaps some retail spending. Obviously, the guests that were coming through that hotel were doing that also. What you oftentimes see is there's a higher tendency for eating out and things like that through daily hotel use as opposed to somebody who's renting on a monthly basis. And so I would suspect there's probably a wash if generally speaking, because of the localized spending. The second part of it is, and this is what I referenced, is with the reduction of the hotel units, that would potentially increase the occupancy in some nearby hotels. Obviously, because it's an area. So if there's roughly 2,000 hotel units in Broomfield, if now it drops to 1,800, the other 1,800 gains some additional customers. So there's some trade-offs that will be going on. And going back to your previous question, while answered reflective to the rent levels, it is a deed restriction, which means it'd be recorded against the property and would hold during the affordability period. So it's something that our housing team would be monitoring on an annual basis to make sure that they're compliant with those units. I think that was the point of your question is
Yeah.
how
I've
is it
seen
happening?
deed
Who
restricted
is
with-
watching?
Yeah, I've only seen deed restrict with homeownership, so this is good. This is
Yeah,
good.
it's the same thing on a multifamily property. It goes against the property. We record it and then it is monitored by our team, our housing team.
Okay, then, are we keeping track of the landlords who do that, who do rent restriction on?
They do, that is what part of Lisa Stacker, who was here earlier tonight, that's part of what her work is she keeps track of those units.
Okay.
And there's an
Thank you.
annual compliance report that they submit to us.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm excited about this. Thank you.
Very much. We're still first round, so I'll go to Councilmember Anderson.
Thank you. I have a question about the park access, and you noted that there's good accessibility via the trails, but I'm seeing it in a slightly different light because it's up against Flatiron Boulevard and some parking areas, and to the south it appears there's some trails, but where is how far, like walking distance, how far is the nearest park that actually has a playground?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Anderson. It's about a half a mile away to the south.
Okay, I don't see
And
that.
it's pretty robust park. It has ball fields, et cetera.
Okay, so it would be a good location for kids. Okay, that is helpful. And my other question was, I'm not sure if this is for staff or the applicant, is the hotel has not been at capacity for some years, but is that speculation, I guess, is that because of the location and other hotels that are nearby that they just can't get to capacity? Or is it more of if the right management was done, could it get to capacity? I'm just curious if this is just not a viable location, or if it's more of a strategy, a management strategy and investments in the hotel.
I'll jump in, and Aaron, if you want to come up, please do. I think, it's one of the older properties in this area, and there's a lot of new hotel competition around there. So I think it's a bit of a factor of its location, a factor of its age. I think the management team has really shifted clientele to be that longer term residential because that's what was attracted to the site. So there has been new investment into the hotel. It's not for lack of trying, but that occupancy has been declining over the last number of years. Yeah, so market conditions probably more than anything.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
All right, thank you. We'll go back to you, Councilmember Twist.
Thank you. For the applicant, I'm wondering, have you done this type of, adaptive reuse adaptation before in other projects?
So I've been a part of a project team that worked on a Town Place Suites at Monaco and Hamden in Denver with a similar conversion of the suites into apartments.
I'm asking because what I've heard about this type of project is that it's surprisingly difficult to convert hotel space to apartments. And I'm wondering why in the presentation you say that it should be fairly easy and straightforward. Is it because it's already designed for long-term use? I'm just curious about that.
So can you put a little more color on what I guess, what concern you have or what you've heard about the difficulty? I'm just looking for more specificity to what you've heard.
Mostly in reaching code for long-term livable, space that's rented versus even long-term, short-term spaces. They're very different requirements for livable, permanently livable space. And my understanding is that it's fairly complicated. That is the extent of my understanding on that. Is that I've heard that it's surprisingly difficult.
So, well, we pulled it off before, and I didn't have hair before we started that project. So, I'll throw out a couple of technical things. The International Building Code is the governing document, and R1 is hotels. And because of the transient nature of hotel guests, they don't know the property, right? So they don't understand like, oh, I need to go there to get out. R2 is the IBC designation for apartment. And because it's occupants who live in the units and are familiar with the property, it's considered to be, that level of familiarity, it's actually a lower hazard rating. So the R1 is more hazard, R2 is less hazard. R2 is where we're headed by converting to apartments. There are, with the change of occupancy, there are things that need to be looked at. Fire suppression, fire alarm being particular ones that are inside the building, as opposed to the, things that we've been coordinating with Judy on, which are, parking, bike parking, that sort of thing, sidewalk width. And those systems get analyzed, and sometimes they need, low frequency sounders is the example that's in my head. When this hotel was built, notification devices on fire alarm were different than when they changed in 2013 to require low frequency sounding, because that wakes somebody up, and the old ones didn't necessarily wake somebody up if there was an issue. So there may be fire alarm devices that need to be replaced, but that's replacing a fire alarm device. It's not taking the building down and putting it back up. So those are a few specific points. Hopefully that gets at the spirit of your question.
Thank you. The next question is on page 10 in the list of reasons why this meets approval criteria. You mentioned optimized conservation of energy and water and other resources. I didn't see anything about sustainability of the project other than it is adaptive reuse. Is there any long-term sustainability built into this?
That's a huge one. I mean, that's just like the biggest one possible, is adaptive reuse. And so what I can say is that, as the project is maintained, then a PTAC gets replaced, a window gets replaced, and those pieces and parts are improved to today's standards, either by code or just by market conditions of what's available, Energy Star, things of that nature on appliances. But reusing the building is the fundamental sustainable approach.
Okay. I still had a few. I still had a little bit of time. It went away.
First round, so
Okay.
we'll grant you the grace.
Thank you.
Just ask one question.
Yeah, thank you.
5
And then I
minutes.
was, okay, yeah, thanks. On that same slide, it says you have identified and are mitigating any negative impacts on nearby properties. I'm wondering what those are.
Well, I'm going to keep beating the same drum here. We aren't building something new. There's going to be very minimal construction, right? We'll have some asphalt work in the parking lot, some restriping of the parking, but there's not, it's not like when the lock was built and there's a big construction effort that goes on for 2 or 3 years. This is much more minimal, and so hence, impacts of traffic associated with construction, that's just not really a thing in this case.
And my last question is, would you consider holding another neighborhood meeting for current engagement of current neighbors?
So well, I would need to defer to ownership, right? I'm a consultant working on their behalf. There was one person who attended the neighborhood meeting, one neighbor that attended the neighborhood meeting that was held. You have something to say?
Yeah, I'll just jump in and Christopher's right. Obviously, we need to check with Aaron and Robbie and the ownership team. But I think that's something that is easily doable. I will also say we've continued to have conversations with that neighborhood. There's not a lot of residential neighbors nearby. So conversations with the owners association, the businesses that are around there have continued. Share your concern that meeting was a long time ago. We did not get a lot of participation. I will say there have been comments on the Broomfield Voice that have been much more recent. So there are still people tracking. Heard the conversation earlier tonight too about not everybody knows the Broomfield Voice exists. But I think, certainly we're happy to take that conversation up. I don't think that's a problematic request to do another neighborhood meeting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions from council? There being no further questions, the public hearing is closed. Next is council's consideration of a proposed resolution number 2026-28. Will the clerk please read the proposed resolution by title?
7D, proposed resolution number 2026-28, approving the Mid-Cities Planned Unit Development Plan Amendment number 10 regarding Mid-Cities filing number 1, Lot 1.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Councilmember Cohen.
Yes. So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Henkel.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, council, please cast your vote electronically. Councilmember Ward has left the meeting. All council members have entered their vote, almost. Oh, there we go. And the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously, 8-0. Thank you all very much. The next item under action items is the public hearing and council's consideration on second reading of a proposed ordinance related to cost assessed in municipal court. I'll now declare the public hearing open. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We're rounding third with 2 second readings. My
Hint.
partner, Judge Bachman.
Subtle hint.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council. So this ordinance proposes 2 updates pertaining to the municipal court. First, to update the court cost and deferred judgment fees, which have remained unchanged since 2001. And second, to align the municipal court code with the charter amendments passed in 2024. Next slide, please. So first, I'll address the request for council to consider the adjustment of the current court costs and fees. This is not a revenue-driven request. The goal is to help ensure the existing court costs remain aligned with the county's statutory responsibilities, operational mandates, and neighboring jurisdictions. Broomfield's Municipal Court currently has court costs of $20 and deferred judgment fees around $75, which were established back in 2001. These fees have not been adjusted in more than 2 decades. During that same period, inflation, operational complexities, and statutory obligations affecting municipal courts have increased significantly. As a result, the real value of the current fee structure has declined substantially over time. Next slide, please. As far as neighboring jurisdictions, here are some comparisons. A review of neighboring and similarly situated municipal courts demonstrates that Broomfield's current fees are well below comparable jurisdictions. Court costs in nearby jurisdictions generally range from $30 to $50, while deferred judgment fees typically range from approximately $100 to $280. So even with the proposed adjustments, Broomfield would remain at or near the low end of regional comparators. Next slide, please. Since 2001, the municipal court has been subject to several statutory and operational mandates that were not contemplated when the current fees were adopted. These include requirements for courtroom technology capable of broadcasting dockets live to the public and mandatory appointment of counsel in all in-custody cases at municipal expense. These mandates were imposed externally and are not discretionary choices by the court. The court has also made public access and significant improvements to enhance access to justice and public convenience. This includes ongoing technology upgrades to support online payments and modern case processing. Now, for many of those who receive a traffic citation, there is the ability to pay that citation online without appearing in person, allowing for a more efficient case resolution. So while these improvements benefit the public, they also carry ongoing technology, maintenance, and operational costs. Next slide, please. For council's consideration, the court proposes the following modest adjustments in the fees. Increase the general court cost from $20 to $40 and increase the deferred judgment fee from $75 to $100. These proposed amounts reflect a partial adjustment after more than 20 years without change and remain conservative when compared to neighboring jurisdictions. Okay, next slide, please. So the second part of the proposed ordinance seeks to align the align the code with charter amendments from 2024. These charter changes permitted the presiding judge to hire associate judges as needed, subject to annual appropriations, and revised the grounds for removing municipal court judges to reference the Colorado Code of Judicial Conduct. Specifically, the ordinance adds the term presiding to judge to clearly distinguish the duties of the presiding judge from those of the associate judges, amends the language regarding the presiding judge's pay from salaries to compensation to acknowledge that the pay as determined by council includes benefits in addition to salary, and updates the code's removal provision to match the amended charter, stating that the associate judge can be removed by the presiding judge. Lastly, the proposed ordinance modifies the current code provision regarding court sessions on city holidays. The existing code prohibits court sessions on these holidays. However, this creates a conflict with statutory obligations such as the 48-hour bond hearing rule requirement, which may need to take place on city holidays and on the weekends. The current provision does not address the transaction of judicial business on holidays. So the proposed amendment addresses this by allowing for court sessions on judicial business holidays and to allow for these sessions to be held on city holidays when required by statute and by law.
Judge Bachman?
I'm sorry?
Does that conclude?
It does. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you, Mayor. I'm sorry.
That was a good endpoint. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you so much. We'll now proceed with public comments. If anyone would like to be heard, please make your way to the podium. Seeing none, we'll go to questions from council next. Any questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, will the clerk, there being no further questions, the public hearing is closed. Next is council's consideration of proposed ordinance number 2292. Will the clerk please read the proposed ordinance by title?
7E ordinance number 2292, updating Charter 2-28 of the Broomfield Municipal Code and making amendments relating to costs assessed in municipal court.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance on second and final reading and order published by title? Councilmember McKenzie?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Delgadillo?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll move forward to the vote on ordinance number 2292. Council, please cast your vote electronically. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed on the screen. That passes unanimously 7-0. Thank you so much, Judge Bachman. The final item under action items is the public hearing and council's consideration on second and final reading of an ordinance relating to building code update. I'll now declare the public hearing open. Council has a copy of the agenda memorandum, which I'll ask our staff to summarize.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Pate, it's always good to see you, sir. Please introduce us to this second reading item, which should go pretty quickly. Mr. Pate.
Thank you, Manager Hoffman. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and the council members. I'm Tim Pate, Chief Building Official. This is a brief summary of the proposed adoption of the 2024 International Building Codes and amending various sections of Title 15. The information, as we went over about a month ago in the first reading, can be found in the first reading council memo and proposed ordinance, which are linked in tonight's council memo. Next slide, please. This update, as explained in the first reading, proposes to adopt the 2024 International Code Package. Next slide, please. The codes listed on the slide, which are a lot of them, would be enforced for all new permits issued by Broomfield after the effective date of the ordinance. Next slide, please. The 2024 Code Package will include the Colorado low. Next slide, please. There we go. Thank you. The 2024 Code Package will include the Colorado Low Energy and Carbon Code with 5 strengthening amendments, which will further increase efficiency above the base 2024 International Energy Conservation Code and the Colorado Low Energy and Carbon Code. Next slide, please. If adopted on second reading, Ordinance 2295 would be effective for all permits issued as of April 15th, 2026. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you. I've also got Dave Waller, who's with North Metro Fire District, in case there's any questions on the fire code side. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Pate. We'll now proceed with public comments. If anyone would like to be heard, please come on up. Seeing none, questions from council are next. Members should limit themselves to questions. Any questions from my colleagues? There being no further questions, the public hearing is closed. Next is council's consideration of proposed ordinance number 2295. Will the clerk please read the proposed ordinance by title?
7F ordinance number 2295, amending certain sections of the Broomfield Municipal Code and adopting the 2024 International Building Code and related codes as primary codes by reference with an effective date of April 15th, 2026.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance on second and final reading and order published by title? Councilmember McKenzie.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Delgadillo.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move forward to the vote on ordinance number 2295. Council, please cast your vote electronically. All council members have entered their vote and the results will be displayed. That passes 7-0 unanimously. Thank you so much, Mr. Pate. Thank you, sir. There are no mayor or council member requests for future action this evening. Is there any other business to come before the council from my colleagues or staff? There being no further business, the business meeting is adjourned. Council will convene for an executive session immediately following this meeting. Good night.